Nigeria Police Special Protection Unit repositioned for effective service delivery.
Committee on Prerogative of Mercy considers over 300 applications for presidential pardon.
New APP provides options for conversion of petrol cars to gas in Nigeria.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss the global oil outlook.
On Tuesday, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, released a report on the global oil outlook. It focused an increase of 102.2 million barrels per day in 2045 from 90.6 million barrels per day in 2020.
Also, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, that's a group of countries that support free market and also pursue economic development as well as social policy, made a forecast that primary demand will constitute over 70% of global primary energy demand in the long term.
Now, the growth, the experts explain, is fueled by increasing populations and growing economies in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East.
Now, other factors contributing to this expected increase in demand include economic growth arising from structural changes and policy push that emphasize energy efficiency as well as development of low-carbon energy technologies after a recovery from the widespread impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Industry watchers predict that the price of crude oil would hit $90 per barrel in the next 3 months. Recall that recently there has been a leap in the demand as well as the prices of crude oil attributed to the margins in global supply-demand deficit.
Now, the experts also indicate that the margin is getting larger than expected as a result of shortages in the U.S., as well as the successful vaccination and initiatives against the coronavirus pandemic in most developing countries. Attention is also being drawn to a sharp rise in the use of oil fuels by international businesses and consumers.
And players in the commodity market, including Goldman Sachs, forecast high prices for crude oil by the end of the year, attributing this current rise to prices in other energy markets.
Now, industry watchers say that although the rise in demand and price of crude oil will positively affect Nigeria's funding capacity, it also implies additional petrol subsidy burden on the NNPC, that's the National Oil Corporation. And so far, Brent, that's the international benchmark for Nigeria's own crude oil, is at its highest since October 2018.
These developments inform our focus on the global oil outlook. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. We are reaching you live as usual on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. I am Kirian Umayo.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Kirian to also welcome you to the program. As usual, we have our complimentary segments, and this includes newspaper review, business, and others. For now, here is our colleague Comfort Amodu with the highlights of the morning news. Good morning, Comfort.
Good morning, Kingsley and Kirian. Good morning, Nigeria. Here's the morning news. The ongoing reforms of the Nigerian police forces received a boost with the donation of its complex and barrack to the Police Special Protection Unit by the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. Inaugurating the project in Port Harcourt, President Muhammadu Buhari, represented by the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, reiterated the commitment of the government to the welfare of police officers in the country.
It is an important part of our government's efforts to improve the lives and livelihoods of our police officers and men, and is also another important milestone in my administration's pursuit of the peace, prosperity, and development of the Niger Delta.
In another development, the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, says social protection schemes can break the cycle of poverty, give real access to jobs, economic opportunities, and improve human capacity. The Vice President, during a United Nations high-level forum on jobs and social protection, which he attended virtually, gave instance of Nigerians' response to the fallouts of COVID-19, which he said was guided by the conviction that social protection schemes are crucial and can break the cycle of poverty, give real access to jobs and economic opportunities, and improve human capacity productivity. He added that the economic sustainability plan of the federal government is aimed at restoring growth by reducing the macroeconomic shocks, tackling the health challenges, averting business closure, protecting, creating jobs. The Senate has urged the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing as a matter of emergency to expedite works on the repairs of damaged portions of roads across the country. Legislative intervention on road infrastructure across the country led proceeding at Senate plenary.
Intervention fund for the critical roads in Niger State to the tune of 300 billion to concurrently fix the roads as part of the infrastructure rehabilitation efforts of the government.
Just from Okene to Lokoja, the road is very unmotorable.
And the House of Representatives has approved the federal government's 3-year fiscal projection for 2022 to 2024, otherwise called Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and Fiscal Strategy Paper. At Tuesday plenary, the House approved the removal of some agencies of government from the national budget.
Many agencies of the government demonstrate capacity to stand on their own without depending on federal government budget, thereby depleting the optimal usage of national resources. For example, NAFDAC and Nigerian College of Aviation Technology in Zaria.
I think a lot of these things, shortfall in revenue, MDAs relying on operating capital and all of that by law, I think these things can be cured by legislation.
In other news, INEC has renewed its 2019 Memorandum of Understanding with transport owners to deliver election materials. This was during a meeting in Abuja.
Bottom line is that we must ensure that we improve the implementation of this MOU. We will be able to open our polling units at 8 o'clock on election day.
Anywhere, we are ready. We have representatives all over Nigeria, so wherever there is election, we can be able to provide the logistics, transportation logistics needed to any election in Nigeria.
The Presidential Advisory Committee on the Prerogative of Mercy has commenced the consideration of 320 applications for pardon and clemency for onward transmission to President Muhammadu Buhari. Minister of Justice, who addressed the reconvened body, called for objectivity in the consideration of the applications.
The core mandate of the committee is that of assisting Mr. President in the discharge of the constitutional responsibility of granting pardon and clemency to convicts or ex-convicts in deserving cases and reintegrating them back into the society.
Vehicle owners willing to convert from petrol to gas can now do so through an auto gas app launched by the National Automotive Design and Development Council. The app is to provide information on certified conversion centers, vendors, or technicians.
The Council has trained so far over 20,000 technicians in the industry. The Council has also concluded plans to develop the NOS, the National Occupational Standards, for the conversion of fuel-powered cars from petrol to gas.
The use of auto gas is one of the sure ways of reducing the emission from petrol to diesel.
And in health, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control has confirmed 295 new cases of COVID-19 in the country. Latest figures released bring the total number of confirmed cases to 205,047 infections in the country. A breakdown of the new cases indicates the FCT recorded the highest number for the day. With 81 new infections, Gombe State recorded 43 cases, Osun with 32, Kaduna 25, Rivers 20, Delta 17, Edo 14, Ogun 11, Oyo and Plateau with 9 cases, Akwa Ibom and Bayelsa with 7 cases, Zamfara 6, Kano 4 cases, Ondo 3, Abia and Nasarawa 2 cases, while Benue, Ekiti and Niger State recorded a single case each. With the latest development, Nigeria now has 205,047 confirmed cases of COVID-19, out of which 193,260 were treated and discharged, while 2,695 persons have died from the virus. And that concludes the news at this time. Do stay tuned for the program with Kingsley and Kirian right after the break.
Trying our best to contain the situation, and in our operations we've been able to make a lot of recoveries. We've been able to also arrest suspects that are involved in this kind of activities, and we've been able to also recover particularly arms and ammunition from those who are carrying it lawfully and disturbing the peace of the people. But generally, our morale in the Nigerian police is always guided by our commitment to do what we have sworn to do. Peace and security must be looked into as a priority by all, to look at security as the business of all of us.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Give your kids winning energy. Milo Active Go. With the goodness of malts, milk, and cocoa, helps them make the most of every day. Milo, the energy to go further.
Welcomes you back to school. Have a session filled with lots of fun and excitement. Stay safe, stay healthy. Indomie noodles, tasty nutrition, good for you.
Chelsea will look to bounce back from their loss against the defending champions when they take on Southampton at Stamford Bridge. Will they succeed? Find out this Saturday on the Premier League Live. It's Chelsea versus Southampton, showing on the network service of the NTA from 2:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu, empowered by Integral.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Thanks for staying with us. And next is business news. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria says credit to private sector rose by 498.6 billion naira in August to 33.26 trillion naira from 32.8 trillion naira, reported in July 2021. Details of this and more with Alika Opanachi Aroa.
The 33.36 trillion naira figure announced by the CBN is a new record that was fueled by banks, among others, increased lending to real sector. CBN, in its money and credit statistics for the period, revealed that credit to private sector in January was 30.65 trillion naira and dropped by 0.47% to 30.5 trillion naira in February. However, in March, it closed at 31.44 trillion naira and crossed the 32.1 trillion naira mark in April to 32.12 trillion naira. In addition, the CBN reported 32.63 trillion naira and 33.36 trillion naira credit to private sector in May and June. Meanwhile, Nigeria is set to boost its volume of trade with Russia, which was $600 million before the pandemic. With faster recovery in sight, the Nigerian-Russia Chamber of Commerce is strategizing on expanding trade engagement through technological advancement in industry, agriculture, and manufacturing.
We created big companies that are producing high-quality products on the world level, from high-tech to fertilizer.
Nigeria can actually be a big window of Russia into Africa. We are prepared to play that role. We've gotten all the necessary assurances from the government in the person of the Vice President of Nigeria.
With business news, Alika Opanachi Arwa.
Thank you very much, Alika, there for the business package, and good morning, Nigeria. Coming up next for us now is Newspaper Review.
And here we have a newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atayebi, with us here in the studio. Bayo, it's good to see you.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Kirian. Good morning. Good morning, Kinsley.
All right, Bayo,
good morning, Nigeria.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Okay, let's kick start with the Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper, above the nameplate, Nexim votes 36 billion naira for SMEs export business in 36 states. The story is captured in details on page 30. Northern governors under fire over silence as Kaduna death toll hits 51. There are two riders to that. Instead of addressing banditry, governors busy strategizing on retaining power, as according to Ohaneze. How would governors meet in Kaduna and silent on killing of 48 people, says Sokepo. The story is on pages 3 and 8. Petrol landing costs now 278, says Moran crude reaches $80 per barrel. That's petrol landing costs now 278 naira, says Moran crude reaches 80,000 barrels, $80,000 per barrel rather. That's on page 29. Now, below the nameplate of the Punch newspaper, we have the lead story. Federal government releases fresh debtors list. November, 77 oil firms owe 2.66 trillion naira. That's on page 30. There are two riders to that story. So firms fail to remit petroleum profit tax, income tax, and education tax, plus, of course, VAT. We are partnering EFCC, NFIU to recover 2.6 trillion naira from oil firms, says the agency. All right, now the photo story on the Punch newspaper actually depicts what happened yesterday during a clash with soldiers, the shared clash with soldiers and police in Abuja. It was alleged that 8 members were killed. That's on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. Shares clash with soldiers, police in Abuja. All right, below that we have FCT notorious kidnapper gunned down, 7 captors rescued. It's on page 43. Herdsmen kill 11 in fresh Benue Plateau attacks. The story on pages 7 and 12. Kogi Varsity Dean's abductors demand 20 million naira. Wife bursts into tears. That's on page 12. Develop Ondo Seaport, decongest Apapa gridlock. Akredolu tells federal government. It's on page 43. Police comb waterways. Others to free abducted retired general in Lagos. That's Smith. It's on pages 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper. Now, restructuring, only solution, must be done before 2023. Fanny Ferry insists. It's on page 43 of the Punch newspaper by Kinsley.
Kieran, thanks a lot there. Let's also take a look at the window page of the Nation newspaper, beginning from the headlines above the name flag. Daughter speaks on police chief slain by Lagos mob. That's on page 3. Benue traditional rulers condemn attacks on Tiv. Otom laments killings. That's the writer to that headline. Gombe recovers 77.3 million naira from 901 ghost workers. Supreme Court Justice Oseji dies at 67. And then below the name flag, CBN places 1 million naira limit on e-naira single transaction. And the lead story there comes with a double-decker headline. It says, North Elders to Governors negotiate 2023 power shift. And with the rider, more knocks for North Governors from MBF, that's Middle Belt Forum, Ohaneze, Afere, and lawyers. More cracks in PDP over zoning. That's the other headline there, just below, beside the photograph. The caption for that photograph says, Shiites and police in Abuja, bloody clash. That's on page 5. Death toll in Kaduna village attack now 45. And cholera kills 57 in 1 week. Bayo.
Thank you, Kinsley. Let's start with the report about police reform. The federal government says its major reform of the Nigerian police is to increase the numerical strength and also equipment for that police force. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo stressed that the provision of accommodation for men and women of the service is a very important feature. He was representing the president at Omagwa in Port Harcourt, where the commissioning of the project awarded in 2012 and completed by the NNDC was commissioned. The project was described as important because apart from achieving accommodation challenges for personnel, it will ultimately also enhance footprint of security in the Niger Delta region. The Minister for Niger Delta Affairs identified that there are 13,777 abandoned projects in the 9 states of the Niger Delta region. Senator Gospel Akpabio says that those that will benefit the people will be selected for completion. Governor Nyesom Wike, while commending NNDC for completing the project, indicated that for some time ago he was contemplating taking over the project because, having been abandoned for long, it was a haven for criminals. Members of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, otherwise known as Shiite, yesterday clashed with security agents between Gwarimpa Gate and the area near Galadimawa along the Kubwa Expressway. The police says that 57 suspects, comprising 39 males and 18 females, were arrested and are being profiled by the Federal Capital Territory Criminal Investigation Department. The police say that they recovered a golf vehicle, flags, petrol bombs, weapons, mobile phones, and other charms from the persons. The Shiite also claimed that they had embarked on their annual ritual Arba'in trek. A spokesman for the group, Abdullah Musa, claimed that 8 persons were killed. The police has denied this, and the spokesperson, Josephine Ape, says that petrol bombs were thrown at security agents. A resident in Gwarimpa told The Punch that the procession blocked the road and no vehicle could move. This led to heavy traffic in the area until police and soldiers came around to send them away. The other story relates to the economy. 77 oil firms and gas companies owe the federal government 2.6 trillion naira. The Executive Secretary of Nigeria Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, Dr. Orji Ogbonaya Orji, says that the debt arose from failure to remit petroleum profit tax, company income tax, as well as education tax. Other taxes that were not remitted include value-added tax, withholding tax, royalty, and concession on rentals. Dr. Ogbonaya Orji was speaking on the state of Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative implementation in Nigeria. The report is based on findings from 2019 audit of oil and gas companies that have operations across Nigeria. They have not even touched about 2020 as yet. The physical amount was $6.48 billion, which using the equivalent of 410 naira 35 kobo to a dollar translated to 2.66 trillion naira. That's a lot of money. If it came out into the coffers, it will go a long way in helping capital projects. Another story about the economy is coming from a report by the budget. Budget report says that 3 states, Lagos, Rivers, and Anambra, have been identified as the only ones that can survive without support from the federal government. This was revealed by the report of the fiscal option for building back Nigeria released by the budget yesterday. The 3 states, the report indicated, can meet operational expenses with combination of internally generated revenue and value-added tax measures. The report also indicated that the bottom 3 that probably could not are Benue, Taraba, and Bayelsa. It also indicated that of all the 36 states of the Federation, there's 3.43% decline in internally generated revenue for the year between the year 2019 and 2020. The report identifies states with the highest foreign debts. These are Lagos, Kaduna, Edo, Cross River, and Bauchi State. The only 5 states, according to the report, prioritizes investment in infrastructure by spending more on capital projects than operational costs. These are Ebonyi, Rivers, Anambra, Cross River, and Kaduna. The ones that are having higher operational costs than capital expenditure are Benue, Kogi, and Taraba.
Okay, well, Bayo, there's a story that is not on the front page of the papers that we have read. And it has to do with the story. I saw the story online yesterday along with the photos, and it's coming from Kwara. That this week, the Kwara state government demolished a public library named after Olusola Saraki. That's the father of Bukola Saraki, former Senate president. I'm less concerned about the politics of it, whether they're having issues or otherwise. My concern is with the public library. Now, before proceeding to demolish that public library, I wouldn't know how many new public libraries the Kwara state government has built, or whether a public library is even under construction in that state. The same question you can ask in most other states of the Federation, including the Federal Capital Territory. Where are our public libraries? And even where those public libraries exist, are they functional? Some years ago, I went to a library here in Area 2 in the Federal Capital Territory. The hostility on the faces of the staff was a clear indication that I shouldn't be there in the first instance. That I should rather be going to be looking for contracts and be asking them questions about how I can have access to some resources. We keep talking about youth empowerment, giving people keke napep and so on and so forth. Where are those public libraries where they could go sit in, even adults?
In recent years, really, in recent years, there has been a downtrend in terms of library development, right? I happen to be privileged, to anchor one of the programs of librarians, where they normally induct librarians, and we discussed that extensively as to why the decline in terms of developing libraries in the country. Is it because we're now having online publications and what have you, and the people don't take interest anymore in going to libraries to sit and read or carry out research? Most people now rely on online publications, books and what have you, to of course, to carry out research and so on. So perhaps that may be part of the reasons. But again,
yes.
as Kingsley pointed out,
Yes.
It behoves on the government to realize the importance of library, especially at this point in time when Kingsley now does raise the issue of youth empowerment and what have you.
You see, there's a general decline in the reading culture, and that is actually undermining people's usage of library. But it's not justification to demolish a library. In the library that was demolished in Kwara, another side to the report was indicating that the library had been abandoned and it was demolished for reconstruction. Be that as it may, whether it is political or not, a library is an asset for society. I don't think it should be subjected to that kind of humiliation. But the danger here is that sometimes people say that the advent of social media is very good, but one of the consequences is that it's killing the reading culture. And a lot more. Look, there were people who could not afford to buy newspapers. They walk into the libraries to read newspapers. Now, they are reluctant to go because they can read all these newspapers on their phones.
That's true. That's true. I agree. Akpabio, Godswill Akpabio, when he was governor of Akwa Ibom, built an e-library at Uyo.
Yes.
And Uyo has also proceeded with setting up a book club. A book club, part of the ways of seeking to encourage the reading culture. During his first tenure, Lucky Igbenedi, as governor of Edo State, also built a modern, an ultra-modern library on Sapele Road. I think he also had e-facilities therein. The truth is that, yes, access to e-sources has tended, to make people rather lazy, but there are collections you will still find in the library that you cannot find in e-sources. I mean, let's give the ultimate example. If you go to the Library of Congress, Kyria, in Washington, D.C., whether it's a virtual tour or otherwise, there are sources therein that you cannot find online. I mean, a library is not just a place for books and so on and so forth. At the Library of Congress, for instance, you will see ancient maps.
Are we stocking books? Are we stocking such information in a library? That's a big question to ask. Yeah. Because if you are not stocking those things in the library, what are you going there to find? If a library, for instance, the one in Kwara, was abandoned for a very long time by previous
why abandon it?
That is the point that we are making.
Why abandon it? And then there are rules. I mean, the librarians will tell you there are ways for acquiring collections. There are also donations. But everybody will just sit down, fold their arms, and say youth empowerment. Give them Okada. Then the next thing they use Okada and give to bandits.
Now, in concluding this segment of our conversation, UEFA Championship, rolled out yesterday, right? And many clubs, lost, especially Madrid, lost to an unknown club, virtually Sheriff.
Well, that is what I find exciting about football. When there is what is described as an offset, that's what makes football interesting.
Big time. It was a last-minute goal. It was a last-minute goal. First loss in the round-robin stage, no question about that. But the most excitement, came from the match PSG and Man City. That was almost like a quality final. Exactly. And for the first time, Lionel Messi scored a wonderful goal. I mean, the attraction for me in that match was to see how both teams, engaged each other, and to see the trio of Lionel Messi, Neymar Jr. and Mbappe. Fantastic combination. Exactly. And I think they will always be a threat to all other teams. It probably could be their year since PSG has been in deep hunger, as it were, for a UEFA championship. Real Madrid, 13-time champions. Had the misfortune yesterday of losing that. But it was 1-1 after, it became 1-1 after Karim Benzema, the creative striker, equalized through a penalty.
I like football because it's unpredictable. No matter how creative you are, at some point,
No. There are times it's predictable. It can be predictable. It's not if you meet a minion, you can overrun them. This is not a surprise, by the way. Don't forget, Ajax also sprung a surprise 1 year against the same Real Madrid. Exactly. So it's a matter of going back to the drawing board, and the real masters, will come out.
So let's conclude the segment and appreciate Bayo Tebi for his wonderful review this morning.
I enjoyed this football commentary.
Yes, we hope to see you again tomorrow.
Thank you very
much. All right, Good Morning Nigeria is on the network service of the NTA. We are taking a short break now. When we come back, we shall be focusing our attention on the global oil, outlook. Don't go away.
Federal government through NPHCDA commenced phase 2 vaccination of all persons 18 years and above with safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines approved by WHO and certified by NAFDAC. Special arrangement has been made for staff, their dependents and retirees of ministries, departments and agencies of government, private corporate organizations and non-governmental organizations. To benefit from this special arrangement, visit www.nphcda.gov.ng/corporate vaccination/ to obtain, fill and submit the Google form. NPHCDA will contact you within 48 hours. Protect yourself, your family and your workplace against COVID-19. COVID-19 vaccines are free, safe and effective. For further inquiries, call 0700-220-1122 or send a mail to covid19.vaccination@nphcda.gov.ng. This message is from the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency.
Give your kids winning energy. Milo Active Go. With the goodness of malts, milk, and cocoa, helps them make the most of every day. Milo, the energy to go further.
When times are tough, we know that as a mother, one thing you should never compromise on is your family's oral health, because they deserve the best. Oral-B, all-round protection. Its great value, it protects your mouth from harmful bacteria and also protects you against tooth holes and gum problems which can lead to tooth loss. It strengthens your family's teeth and gives them all-round protection. So remember, protect their future. Oral-B for healthier, stronger teeth in just 1 week.
I dey enjoy Nollywood film. Orisun, PBO, AMC be my best channel. But ST Nollywood Plus, they show the latest Nollywood blockbuster on top classic bouquet. How I want to watch them?
My pikin dey enjoy 5 children's channels. But one called our DreamWorks on top am.
I be telenovela lover and I like ST Novella E and Starlight. But I hear say the series on ST Novella E Plus on top classic bouquet. The totori person pass waiting I dey see now. And I won't watch them. Shall I go need pay 800 naira extra?
From September 1, Star Times, they summer you better package. But no fear, we no increase price. Join this offer. Make basic bouquet subscribers just pay for 1 month and then go fit to watch 3 Ogbonge extra channels from Classic Bouquet. This awoof never finish. Recharge Classic or Super Bouquet for 1 month and you fit be one of the 400 lucky people them. We go win smartphone. Terms and conditions, they shall. More value, same price. Star Times, enjoy digital life.
He's falling sick so frequently, either fever or stomachache. I keep him away from junk food.
He also feeds me apples. She says an apple a day keeps...
If you want to keep germs away, then also wash your hands regularly with Dettol soap.
Meaning?
Germs and disease spread through the hand also. For this, use Dettol soap. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
Give your kids winning energy. Milo Active Go. With the goodness of malts, milk, and cocoa, helps them make the most of every day. Milo, the energy to go further.
Chelsea will look to bounce back from their loss against the defending champions when they take on Southampton at Stamford Bridge. Will they succeed? Find out this Saturday on the Premier League Live. It's Chelsea versus Southampton, showing on the network service of the NTA from 2:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu, empowered by Integral.
Thank you for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria. As a prompt for our conversation segment, which is on global oil outlook, let's take this excerpt of the unveiling of the World Oil Outlook by OPEC Secretary General Mohamed Barakindo.
What is clear is that the world will need more energy in the decades to come. In the period to 2045, the global economy is estimated to more than double. World population is set to expand to 9.5 billion people. And we need to remember that there is huge potential for socio-economic development in terms of expanding access to modern energy services for those billions who continue to go without. We see global energy demand expanding by 28% by 2045. Energy will be needed to power more homes, more services, more businesses, more cars, more planes, more ships. I could go on and on and on. This will require the use of all forms of energy to support the post-pandemic recovery, the energy transition, and address long-term energy needs. We need to draw on the strength of all energy forms. From a regional perspective, we see a continuing energy demand growth trend toward the non-OECD, with its share expected to rise from 63% to 71% by 2045. In fact, the entire growth in energy demand is expected to come from the non-OECD. Renewables witness the largest growth, rising from a global fuel share of around 2% in 2020 to over 10% by 2045. It is important to note that OPEC member countries are making significant investment in renewables as they look to diversify their energy mix. Gas sees the second largest growth, driven in part by higher urbanization rates, industrial demand, and its competitiveness over coal in power generation. In fact, all energies are set to witness growth, with the exception of coal. It is oil, however, that retains its number one position in the global energy mix. It is still expected to provide 28% of global energy needs by 2045. Given the huge 9.3 million barrels a day drop in global oil demand in 2020, incremental demand by 2026 is almost 14 million barrels a day higher than in 2020, albeit only 4.4 million barrels a day higher than in 2019. Long-term oil demand growth slows over the outlook period, and total demand reaches just over 108 million barrels a day by 2045. Following the energy trend, it is the non-OECD that dominates oil demand growth, led by India, China, other Asian countries, OPEC, and Africa. The OECD sees a steady decline from around the mid-20s onwards. By sector, transportation leads the way, followed by aviation and petrochemicals, while electricity generation is the only area expected to see an oil demand decline. While travel and mobility restrictions due to the pandemic hit the transportation sector hard, particularly aviation, the long-term picture remains one of the robust growth. There remains huge potential for an expansion in the passenger and commercial vehicle fleets, especially in developing regions.
That background was taken from the Global Oil Outlook report presented by the OPEC Secretary General, Mohammed Sanusi Bakendo. Now we have guests to discuss matters arising from that report and other related issues. Let's welcome to our studios this morning, again, Dr. Timothy Okon, who is a petroleum economist and managing partner, Tenno Energy Resources. Dr. Tim Okon, delighted to have you again on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much for having me.
And also with us in this conversation, this time joining us from our Lagos Network Center, is Odion Omofoma. He's an energy expert. Odion, delighted to have you this morning.
Thank you once again, and good morning, Nigerians.
All right, and via Zoom from Ghana is Professor Wumi Iledere, Professor Emeritus in Petroleum Economics, Center for Energy Studies, Louisiana State University, and Executive Director, Emmanuel Bohan Foundation for Petroleum Economics, Policy Advocacy and Research, Abuja. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Morning. Good morning to my friend Dr. Okon as well.
Also from Awari via Zoom is engineer Alex Nain. He's the MD CEO, Gakmok Nigeria Limited, and ex-Chevron management staff and former African Regional Director, SPE International, and honorary member of SPE. It is glad to have you with us this morning on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you. Good morning. It's a pleasure being with all these guys I'm seeing on the screen for a very long time. Okon, Wumi, and several others. Good morning to everybody.
All right, gentlemen, our pleasure to have you all with us as we discuss the global oil outlook. Of course, we do know that the outlook will have policy implications. It will also have investment implications. But let's begin with Dr. Tim Okon for the benefit of our viewers who are not oil experts. What does this global oil outlook mean? And in indicating what it means, what are those key points that we should flag at this stage?
Thank you very much. I think the important information to be garnered from the OPEC perspective, which is broadly consistent with a position that most other observers hold, is really threefold. The first is that we are not out of oil. And the message is that non-OECD countries, and what does non-OECD, the Organization for Economic, or non-developed countries, those who are developing, require oil in their economies. So there is no need for panic per se, but we need to recognize that for the OECD countries, oil demand will go down. That's an important message. Secondly, you did speak about gas, and you know Nigeria has been shifting its focus now on gas, but focus on gas in the three key areas. You talk about petrochemicals, you also talk about gas conversion industries, etc. Then there is a third, which is the transportation sector. Post-pandemic, which is really the huge slump, was that in a lockdown situation, nobody was going anywhere. So he mentions aviation, for example, growth in aviation. That will come back, and some of the details in the forecast include a potential 4.2 million barrel a day increase in 2022. And what that implies is that some of the shut-in production of 9.5 million would actually now come back into play. So the final implication would be simply that if demand picks up, etc., prices are likely to hold. And when prices hold, the challenge now is that how do you invest to bring production? And the additional message I would like to point out is that we still need, he mentions all energy sources, and some of the crises you have in Europe that has to do with the failure to recognize some of these dynamics in which you look at all the energy sources that are available to power an economy. Beyond the rhetorics about energy transition, reality is dawning on a lot of people that fundamentally you still need fossil fuels to power the world economy, especially non-OECD countries.
All right. Now, let's go over to Professor Wumi Eladere, who is reaching us via Zoom from Ghana. I take it that you also listened to the OPEC Secretary General, reel out, the outlook of oil. He made one indication that all energy sources have actually increased in terms of growth, but yet that oil still maintains its lead. Let's get your take on the general outlook as he presented. All right, we seem to be having glitches with that signal. We'll likely return to Ghana to see if we can get through to Professor Iladore make his opening comments. But for now, let's go to Odion Omofoman, who is an energy expert in our Lagos studios. Odion, I just asked a question with respect to the fact that other energy sources have grown, according to the OPEC General Secretary or Secretary General, and I want to get your own take with respect to what he read out. And again, oil remained central, with respect to provision of energy globally. What do you make of, the information he just delivered to the world on Tuesday?
Thanks very much. My take on the report in general is that oil still maintains its dominant position amongst the various fuel types. And we have a couple of fuel types. We have the oil, we have natural gas, we have the nuclear energy, renewables, and even the hydros. So it's interesting to note that despite like Dr. Okon said, the rhetorics on energy transition, oil is projected to still be the dominant fuel type for till 2045 and beyond. But that is not to say that there is no transition happening. And I think if you looked at the OECD countries, their share of renewable energy will grow from 2-point-something% to about 10. Then in terms of other energy types, gas also will increase. Luckily, Nigeria is now focused on developing our gas resources. The minister and other NNPC personnel have always stated that Nigeria is a gas country, not necessarily an oil country. So we see the NNPC in the right direction, focusing on the development of gas, and that is good for our energy use. But long and short, what the report points out to is that there will be growing, energy demand is growing. Energy demand will have to be met by a mix of oil, fossil fuels, and non-fossil fuels. And for the projected future, up to 2045, oil will still remain the dominant fuel type, even though its share of the percentage share of amongst fuels would reduce, but just a marginal reduction. What does that mean for us here in Nigeria? Should we still be focusing on oil exploration within Nigeria, or we should now maximize transition into gas? I think that's something that maybe as we progress in the conversation, we'll have that discussion. But I think we're on the right track in terms of trying to develop our gas resources, utilizing more gas. But oil still remains, from OPEC's perspective, the dominant fuel type that isn't going away anytime soon.
All right. Thank you very much, Odion Omofoman. We will return to you later on in the course of the conversation. Let's check out Professor Wunmi Iledore again and see if his audio glitch has been cleared up now. Professor Wunmi Iledore, we couldn't hear you earlier after my colleague Kirian posed his first question to you. But let's just begin by asking you what your view is in general with respect to the global oil outlook presented by the OPEC Secretary General.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me now. Let me know. But I think if you look at the outlook, there are assumptions that are embedded in it. And there are three assumptions, basically, when you look at world oil outlook. It begins with population growth. And then the second thing is industrialization. And then the third thing is climate change. And the climate change aspect is what OPEC tried to emphasize, the assumption of electric vehicles. Now, if you look at the reduction in oil demand from the OECD point of view, it is tied onto transportation using electricity. And OPEC's assumption is very valid. You are looking at 2.6 billion vehicles on the road, and they are thinking in terms of 460 million electric vehicles. These are assumptions that have stochastic implications. And then, so that's from the demand aspect. And that's why you saw the reduction in OECD demand for oil. It is tied to basically being able to replace transportation vehicles, fossil fuel vehicles with electric vehicles. Technology adoption is not as easy. So I don't see a situation in which the focus of OPEC will be less than what they have. I actually foresee a possibility of needing almost 110 million barrels of oil per day. OPEC currently estimated it to be about 109 million barrels per day, because the assumptions are not necessarily as realistic as the OECD people want to believe. Now, when you look at industrialization and population, and if you look at what they're actually trying to replace is electricity generation with fossil fuel. Oil is not a participant in that. If you go to China, it's a small fraction of oil that is used for electricity generation. So what you are looking at is concentrating on transportation. And I see a focus from OPEC in which we're still going to, the outlook for supply we still have oil over 50 to 53% of global energy need. Because where oil would be required is where the population centers are in the world. So I don't see any panic with respect to the relevance of oil going forward. Because most of the assumptions that you are going to displace oil in transportation are, in my opinion, and according to others, is just dream, no reality. Technology cannot just be transformed easily. The way people are looking at it. And just in closing remarks so that others could speak. In 2005, the world was thinking that oil would not be necessary because of what they call carbon fabric. The composite material will replace oil going forward. This is 2021, and oil supply is still accounting for over 54% of global energy need. And fossil fuel together is accounting for almost 81% of global energy need. That is 15 years ago's prediction. So let us fasten our seatbelt. Yes, the energy transition is here to stay, but I don't see any much dent in global oil requirement by 2050. I still think it's more of a dream than reality. But hey, time will tell.
All right, time will tell, and my take away from what you just enunciated is that there's no panic in terms of the relevance of oil in the entire energy mix. All right, thank you. Let's get to Engineer Alex Lane, MD, Gamcock Nigeria Limited. Let's get your own perspective, of this presentation by OPEC, because of course a number of points have also been raised by the previous speakers, to that effect. What's your view? Do we have a panic, or do we think that in the course of between now and 2045, that nothing will happen that will make oil to some extent irrelevant in the entire energy mix?
For this opportunity, it is like a game that is going on. As students way back 74, 75, we were told in 50 years' time, the oil will not be relevant, it will finish, dry up, and all those, they're all gone. So we're in a different stage. My concern about what OPEC is presenting is showing us that in Nigeria, we still have hope. So I will concentrate more on how we develop our oil and gas to be able to build our future beyond what we are seeing now. There's still ample chance for us to do that because, like Professor Ledari said, he looks at it as not being real. Yes, it's not being real, but you must be prepared. So we know definitely all efforts have been put into renewable and to eliminate the usage of oil and gas, but it's still going to be here with us for a very, very long time because the alternatives that are coming up, they're good, but it cannot wipe out the demand for oil. Look at what has happened. We went down to about $22 a barrel. Now we are facing 70 something going to 80, and it will still go up. So my own concern as a Nigerian is how do we harness this situation now? Because what OPEC is presenting is good news for us. And I think there are better future beyond what OPEC is presenting based on known facts and knowledge. So I think it will give us an opportunity to re-engineer our industry here and see how we can use this opportunity to build the Nigerian we are looking up to. And I think there's hope. People should not give up. Our universities everywhere, they should all keep cranking to come up with ideas whereby we fully indigenize the industry so that we can get all the full benefits that goes with it rather than letting it go outside. We refine, we sell, we export, and let us use it as a big opportunity to boom. We've lost some period already, but I think this is another opportunity beyond the expectation of most people. All the gamings of 1974, 75, 40 years oil, we finished, we're still here, we're still finding more oil, and we're still going to find more oil. And that oil is going to be used, must be used. So I'm appealing to the federal government to go back to the drawing board with this opportunity still there. Let us do a thorough job of this industry and we'll be fine. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Engineer Alex Neni. We will return to you in the course of the conversation. Now, back to our studios here in Abuja. Dr. Tim Okon, let's try one more time to domesticate the whole issues around the global oil outlook. Now, this is energy forecasting. And some would say that it's an open source intelligence, not just for the world, but for member countries of OPEC. Usually for us as an oil producing country, have we always latched onto the whole idea of energy forecasting to enable that, drive our operations, drive our ideas, and so on and so forth? I'm asking this question against the background of your many years, in the
I would say this is really the time to manage transition. While there is no need for panic, but we must understand what is happening elsewhere. So for the OECD countries, if you're going to have from a 2% to a 10% increase in renewables, and particularly you are dealing with transportation, electric vehicles, and I presented a paper on electric vehicles just yesterday. What that simply means, there are some implications. The first is that countries in Africa and least developed economies would be dumping grounds for vehicles coming in. Of course, there are price impacts. The second and most important point for Nigeria take on this is that we need to process our hydrocarbons. It's so important from the point of view as for those of us who remember the 70s and the cement armada, and I think that Alex was talking to students those days, and the cement armada, we have succeeded, and I want to use it as a model, we have succeeded in turning our limestone to cement. We no longer have ships in Apapa waiting to, with cement, bulk cement, waiting to berth. That's something that in my lifetime has happened. Similarly, we need to approach oil exactly in that same way. An import substitution strategy, backward integration as they call it, so that you process the hydrocarbons here in Nigeria. That's where the benefits come. That's where all the policies on gas, etc., would matter if we develop a gas conversion industry. In order to turn that gas into industrial goods. We actually do have a national industrial revolution plan. There's a document like that exists, and it's a blueprint on things including oil and gas. So yes, forecasting is essential. Has it been used effectively in the past? My answer is no. But this is the time to make a change. And let me also volunteer one key information. It's that if we all agree that fossil fuel is a pollutant, and we are not flat earthers, we are not saying that the earth is flat and begin to cover our heads like the ostrich and pretend. These are pollutants. We have problems with environmental pollution in the Niger Delta. So obviously, if you agree that cigarettes causes cancer, is carcinogenic and all that, you don't want to subsidize the product. So when we talk about energy from all kinds of energy sources being applicable, there are usually taxing mechanisms that enables you to negate or try and avoid the negative externalities that are associated with certain activities. So in other words, if you are dealing with oil, which is more of a significant pollutant than, say, gas or other sources, there are mechanisms, policies that need to be developed to tackle this particular problem. So we have not done very well in the past with these forecasting, but we need to get serious. The world is moving on, and I think we have the opportunity yet again to put our energy policy in the right shape for tackling energy transition. It's happening. It may not come to us as speedily as it is going to happen in OECD countries. And mark you need to also recognize that these OECD countries, OECD itself and the IEA, they were created as a means to manage energy demand in the 70s, when President Carter declared that this was the moral equivalent of war, when oil prices went up and economies began to... so they have managed that well, and we need to recognize the opportunity we have now to do likewise. And I think this is where our focus needs to be.
I was just wondering, Kira, I'm sorry, I know that we want to get to other guests. When we talk about energy transition and energy mix, I keep hearing about the place and role of gas. But gas exploration, production, doesn't just happen on its own. I mean, we hear of the oil and gas industry. Can you separate oil from gas? I know the associated gas and so on and so forth. So how does one understand that to say, okay, there's energy transition, gas is part of that. You've also talked about the need for us to further explore gas. But can you explore for gas on its own solo without also the associated issue of crude oil exploration and production?
Well, yeah, I think yes. The simple answer to that is that the predictive tools that we have to determine what is the proportion of oil and gas that exists are not that as accurate. But there are two things involved in there. Whether you find an wholly oil field, etc., the nature of the dynamics of pressure and temperature in the subsurface is that you can either have that gas associated with oil as solution gas. And so when you produce it under a different pressure and temperature condition, the gas wants to come out. So you have to put it through separators, etc. That is inevitable. I hold out some hope because if you look at the new PIA, there are provisions there on the domestic obligation that and a three-tier system, a tier 1 system for that solution gas, associated gas, the tier 2 system that says all the gas cap needs to be utilized for the domestic market, and then the non-associated gas. So we have captured the necessary incentives for people to go out and actually do what they need to do, which is find hydrocarbons and with the domestic obligation, channel that whatever they find or what they currently have into the domestic market, in which case we'll be able to do this gas conversion industries like fertilizer, methanol, etc., etc. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Let's return to Odion once more, and still in line with the domestication of the energy forecast. The OPEC's Secretary General also said that if the necessary investments are not met, in the oil sector, it will have some implication. And he also called for return of investment as a core reason for declaration of cooperation. Now, how far has Nigeria really gone in terms of further investment in the oil sector? And again, to ensure that we domesticate some of these energy forecasts that we are talking about. We can also make reference to the issue of being capable of refining our oil and, of course, indigenizing the entire oil exploration in Nigeria for us to have a maximum benefit from these forecasts.
I think in terms of domesticating the report, from an investment perspective, investment has been lagging in the sector for quite a while. If you recall, the issue of the PIB, now PIA, slowed down significant investments that could have come into the sector. And if you recall President Buhari's speech, when he was signing the PIA into law, he talked about lost investment during the period that the PIB was under consideration. So we've lost a lot of time in terms of, a lot of investments in terms of making investments in the oil and gas sector. That said, there have also been some positives, positive investments, this time by the private sector. So we have Alhaji Aliko Dangote, who is invested or investing in a refinery that will be Africa's largest refinery. You also have the chairman of Boa Group doing investments in that same direction. We have a lot of modular refineries. There's been policies to encourage investments in the midstream sector of the industry, which is where I think we were lagging behind. Previously, we produced oil and gas, and then we shipped it out, and then we brought in white products and other things, gas products as well, including LPG that we used to cook. But now we're seeing a lot of investments going into the midstream, and it's very gratifying to know that the PIA makes provisions for, recognizes that we need investments in the midstream sector. And the midstream sector is really where the action is, converting that raw material, the feedstock, gas feedstock, oil feedstock, into materials that we can use, into petrochemical industries. If you looked at the forecast, one of the growth trajectories for oil is also petrochemical. So in addition to transportation, based on road transport and aviation, petrochemical industry is also one of the growth of the petrochemical industry will also be one of the drivers of the demand for oil. So it's important that we focused on attracting investments in these areas of our economy and the oil industry, which is the midstream aspect of it. Now, let me just back up a bit. I think the OPEC report is a bit, well, the report was generated by OPEC, so I think there will be some bit of bias for OPEC on the side of OPEC for oil. If we had other renewable experts who are more positive about renewable energy speak, they might give renewable energy a greater share of energy demand. But let's follow where the money is. The money right now is chasing renewables. Even the IOCs are also chasing renewables. While it's not there's no need to panic, it's also important to realize where the world is shifting to. So today, if you want to do a gas or an oil project in Nigeria, you would struggle for financing. You can't get the financing local. You would have to go offshore to raise financing. And guess what? The multilaterals, the private equity firms, a lot of them are focused more on renewable energy. If you find a field you want to do exploration, you're going to struggle very hard to raise financing to do exploration, to bring that field to production. So it turns out that perhaps whilst OPEC is bullish in terms of where it sees oil, the money is speaking to renewables, at least from where we sit today. We're seeing money chase renewables. If you recall, the vice president even wrote something in the energy in the international media, calling on the world to not to stop funding for natural gas and oil, particularly natural gas. So when you look at where the money is chasing, based from and a lot of this money comes from the OECD nations, it is it looks like they're using investments to now force the world into renewables. So whilst OPEC is bullish in terms of the outlook on oil, I think we also need to be wise and start to look at using our oil resources to develop renewable energy, developing our midstream sector so that we can convert our natural feedstock and then use it for our own internal benefit. And that's where domestication of the report really, really matters. We must be intentional in taking whatever resources that we have from our oil to develop our midstream such that we do not have to depend on OECD countries for our energy needs by 2045.
Okay, thank you very much, Omofoma. You've thrown in the reality check that, well, the money is chasing renewables at this time, and some of the issues you've talked about in terms of financing investments in crude exploration and production are matters I would like Professor Wunmi Eledare to also speak to. Professor Eledare, let's put it broadly. Now, the notion was that the PIA is a game changer, and it's also been praised for creating opportunities for investment in the midstream sector. And here we are, from what Odun Omofoma has again reminded us, big money is chasing renewables, and there's therefore potentially less available big ticket funding for our midstream sector. What does that tell us? And in terms of our policies, in terms of also, if you like, redirection of our chase for appropriate funding and timeliness in energizing our midstream sector?
Thank you very much. I was hoping you would not bring PIA because, but I'll speak to the other issue because the PIA may not be perfect, but it's an excellent beginning. And if you look at, we've done Petroleum Act since 1969, this is 2023, so we cannot throw away the bath water that is dirty with the baby. This is where implementation comes in, looking at this idea of funding, because public perception is very key to be able to attract funding. Now, I understand my friend's concern that this is OPEC's perception. Even the IEA perception is their own perception, and it has to do with energy security. If you look at OPEC presentation and you look at where oil will be coming from to meet the 110 million barrels by 2045, it's all OPEC. The non-OPEC supply outlook is very, very dim because the resources are no longer there. And Dr. Okon alluded to the fact that IEA came into existence when OPEC took control of oil in the 70s. The purpose of IEA is to guarantee energy security. And IEA now foresee the future. And PIA is a signal, if not because of deficient implementation signals that I'm receiving right now. Because if Nigeria with 200 million people is depending on 2 million barrels per day to meet up their energy need for industrialization, and they have 37 billion barrels of oil reserves, something is wrong. So the IEA is foreseeing the turning around of some of these energy source centers, that they may want to be using their energy to improve the quality of life, and there will be nothing left for them. And that's why they are looking for technology to move their energy security away from people that may need their energy to get the type of quality of life. So, it's just like a Tiponi cell. Politics begins local. Energy development is essential for economic development. Producing oil for money is not where PIA wants to go. And that's the investment aspect. People will go to where value can be created for their money. And I want to continue to warn Africa with this energy transition. You must talk the talk, but you must walk the talk of energy transition in an efficient manner. The pace cannot be dictated because somebody has money, because we're going to come back to energy poverty. And that's why OPEC Secretary General was trying to say, yes, climate change is there, but energy poverty is there too. And economic poverty is there. And that's where you have the population center. So to me, this is an opportunity. What OECD is doing is about their energy security. What we should be doing is about Nigeria energy security. And this OPEC outlook gives us a window. And that's where the three institutions in PIA is so critical for the future. And listen, I don't want to go into PIA because I become passionate, because one has worked so hard. The board of NNPC, the board of the Upstream Commission, the board of the authority is what the world will be looking at as to whether they want to bring their money to Nigeria. I don't like the signal that I'm seeing. And I'm calling on the Senate, because of what we are talking about, the opportunity to develop our oil is there. And by the way, the money is there as well. Don't let anybody deceive you. Investors will go to where value can be created. And the PIA has given us the opportunity. The implementation strategy is the key, taking advantage of this global outlook for oil. Oil is going nowhere. Put it in writing, because there's no optimal supply energy mix without oil if the global economy will not collapse. See what COVID did. It wasn't predicted. If you allow energy to collapse without oil, we are deceiving ourselves, because oil is not for electricity generation. Oil is for moving goods and services to grow the economy, and the world will still need it. Right now, if you look at the statistics, oil accounts for 59% of transportation globally. Oil accounts for 19% of industrialization. All of these population centers are not fully industrialized yet. India, China are the driving center for industrialization. I don't see why Nigeria cannot be. And that's what Dr. Okun was saying. The midstream is the key for multiplier effect in the global oil and gas outlook. And we have these resources in abundance. We just need to make sure that we move away from prebendalism and resource mindset in using our resources for posterity. This is a good outlook. The assumptions are clear, just like the IEA assumptions were based on electric vehicle. It's an assumption, my friend, not reality. And by the way, it's not about growth, because what we are seeing with renewable is growth, not deliverability. Yes, there may be 25% growth in renewable. Where are they starting from? They currently account for less than 10%, even in the projection up till 2050 in a global sense. It is only in the OECD that you are seeing that you saw what happened in London, in the UK. You saw what happened in California. You cannot predict where wind will go. We have abundant petroleum resources globally. The world is not running out of oil, and I don't see the world running oil outside the energy supply mix up to 2050. The facts are there. The assumptions may be stochastic. PIA is a good thing that happened to Nigeria, just like the local content. And you could see the implementation of local content adding value. You need a board of directors of these institutions that will tell the executive, you can't do what you are doing because it's not going to add value. If you don't have that type of board, institutional capture will not allow us to get the type of investment we need to develop our oil. I challenge the Senate to not forget all the engagement that led to those formulations. This is the time to act. The board must be effective, efficient, ethical, and equitable. You cannot have a competent executive and have incompetent board. We're not going to touch where we need to go. Do your job, Senate, for PIA to add value. Do not confirm any incompetent member. The president has done his job, which he has the power to do. You have your job to apply the law to confirm those that are put on those institutions. If the global oil outlook will favor Nigeria, it begins with those three board of directors: the upstream board, the authority board, and the NNPC board. They must be competent to be able to deliver with this optimistic global oil outlook.
All right, Professor Ledere, you mentioned earlier that you didn't think that we were going to raise the issue of a PIA because you're passionate about it, and we have just seen that. You have made your points. I hope that we'll have another day to discuss the issue of adequate implementation of PIA. Thank you very much indeed. Gentlemen, the assumptions of the OPEC is very clear. And there's one thing Barakindo did mention, and that has to do with a holistic view of all the intrinsic perspectives to this conversation that with respect to energy mix. And I'm coming to Engineer Alex Nain here. You may have to also touch on the points raised by other guests, but this is your question. Sanusi Barakindo said, look, additional policy measures supporting faster fuel substitution and penetration of more efficient technology could push global oil demand to below 100 million barrels per day by 2045. What does he mean by that? Is he envisaging that other economic factors or energy factors along the line may actually push oil downwards with respect to the general energy global mix?
Thank you very much for the question. I would say one thing first. That is, Okon spoke, Wumi also spoke, and the other consultant spoke also. In my place here, they say you get good from your house to outside. I think we have always thought, oh, we have to get our money from outside. The people have their own strategy. If they make their strategy, they will work towards it. So when you have oil to produce and they don't want oil, they are doing electric cars and all that, what is the incentive for them to want to fuel what you want to do to achieve your goal? So it goes back to just common sense. We must, as a nation, define what our priorities are. And I've always mentioned, you cannot give what you don't have. First and foremost, this business is a serious business, and the people to guide this business must be sound people in the industry. Wumi has said so much. I don't want to dwell in that. But what the OPEC, they're saying about investment and more technology to get more oil, that one is given. From time to time, they've always been upgrade on how effectively we can produce oil. So that one, nobody can take it away. And that's where technology comes in. The engineers, everybody have to go to the cutting edge level to do things to produce the volume they are talking about. So there's no question of any shortcut about it. And as Nigeria and the OPEC countries, never you sit down and expect you're going to get all the financial support from the people who don't want the type of growth you need. So they are working opposite. They mentioned it, Qatar and everybody, the direction is how do we reduce the price of oil? How do we dwarf income from oil? That's their strategy. So we must develop our own strategy as OPEC or as Nigeria to ensure, one, we have the right people in those places, we have the right trained people to do the job so we can effectively and do the job and save money at all costs. So what we are doing now is everything we are depending on the people who don't want you produce and make what you want to make. They have their own strategy. So as long as we continue to look up to them without looking inward to ourselves and our capability, we'll be in this quagmire for a long time. But like Wumi said, the PIA is there. There are other things. And being in the industry, I think Nigeria has trained a lot of people that if you harness them, you will be able to do better than what the Western world is thinking about. I think our drive now, like I said, I'm passionate about what Nigeria should do to enhance production, reduce the bloating costs, because the costs we are incurring in the industry is outrageous. I've said that for more than 20, 30 years. So these are the things we must tackle as a nation. If we tackle these things right, we will reduce our costs. We have our people engaged. Unemployment will be reduced. We don't have to import anything like fuel, diesel, and all that. These are all past things now. So let us wake up now and say, hey, we have blown the pipe long time ago. We should now go back to the drawing board and do what professionals, what we do best for our respective places where we worked. The manpower is here. It's just the drive. Like Wumi said, if you put people in the board just because you want to satisfy people, that's not going to do the job because they have to control the other end. And you don't do that without knowledge. You need qualified, knowledgeable people in the industry to help these organizations to operate properly. Otherwise, if it is a yo-yo setup, we're going to get a yo-yo game. But I pray that doesn't happen. We have the people. Let us go out and do what we do best. That way, all the universities, the young people coming out of the university, they should be made to face a challenge. It's a challenge for everybody. Let us use our brain, use our knowledge, use the little money we have to develop this country using the available oil resource because we have time on our side. 50 years from now, we're still going to be there. And this gas, oil thing, you can't take one without the other. You find oil, you can find a big oil field. You can also find a big gas field, but whichever way you go, some gas will come out here, some oil will come out there. So our concern now is how do we utilize human resources, the money we have, not all these ones stolen here and there. Let us plunge this thing back there and generate revenue to turn this country around. We still have that chance. I think that is the direction we should go. Let's focus on ourselves. OPEC has given us indications of what the world is. It is now left to us to use that, go back to the drawing board, plan what we should be doing to counter the negative things the Western countries or other countries who want us to go down will do. I think that's the bottom line. If we can do that effectively, go to hell with them. But if we cannot do that effectively, they will keep us under their seat and sit on us. So that is where we should put our energy. We have people, we have money. Anybody that say we don't have money is a joker because I hear billions stolen, brought back, and let's plug all this back into the industry that will bring out the money that will generate work, labor, everything. Then we will be a stable country. And we'll shame these people who've been taking us for granted over the years. We've seen it over and over. I'm just pleading, let us do the right thing. Use the right people. Use our money effectively. That way, we reduce all the social stress and all the things going on. Because when you have people who go to half-big school, the universities are not well funded, So let my people go. Some will come out, some will be good. But if we concentrate and turn all these things around, turn out good graduates, use our finance properly, use the people who are knowledgeable, so we can do well. I don't see any problem. I think what OPEC has done is to tell us, gentlemen, you have this opportunity. It is now left to you to harness this opportunity to do well for yourself. If you refuse to, you won't have any reason to blame anybody because it is now open. I think that's my plea to the country. Most people have spoken, Okon, Wubi, all the things they are saying, they're in line. I think the bottom line is let us be honest as a country, do the needful to achieve our aspiration. It is doable. There's nothing in the oil industry that we cannot do. There is nothing. We have the people outside, inside. They're just sitting down and say, okay, this is what we want to do. How do we get the people? We scout through, forget about all these, this must be from here, this must be from here. I said, if you're going to play soccer, the 11 people coming into the field to represent Nigeria, if they are from one parent, do it, and let's get it done. So let us go back and do what we do best, based on merit and capability, knowledge. I think that's where we're lacking. We have what it takes. We have the money. The government, like all these modular refineries and all those coming up now, nobody knew that could happen. They strangulated the modular refinery financially for a long time. But some of them have bust loose, and they are now contributing to the place. So it means we can do it if we change our mindset and the way we run government. This is not, it's not a joking thing. You cannot give what you don't have. You must give what you have. So when you don't have knowledgeable people handling things and you expect things to work, it will not work. We have gone through this circle over and over. Let us go back to the drawing board. OPEC has given us a clear card. These are the prediction. You now know your enemy. If you know your enemy, like Zeke said, say, God, take care of my friends. For my enemies, I know them. In this case, we know our enemies. We know those who want to drag us back. They will not give us money. They want to face their direction to make sure the price of oil goes down. So if we know this, what do? It's simple. You strategize yourself to beat those odds, and that's all we need to do.
All right.
Thank you.
Engineer Alex Naim, thank you very much there for your comments. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll continue with the conversation.
Has the responsibility to help improve the quality and the quantity of the road infrastructure assets, which are the roads and the bridges and the highways. At the moment, we have over 13,000 kilometers of road network under repair, reconstruction, or rehabilitation out of the existing 35,000 kilometers of federal road network. These 13,000 kilometers are comprising about 850 different contracts which the ministry superintends across Nigeria. We are fulfilling the mandate of our ministry to expand the connectivity of Nigeria's states and by extension the towns and villages through road transport.
Give your kids winning energy. Milo Active Go. With the goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa, helps them make the most of every day. Milo, the energy to go further.
He's falling sick so frequently, either fever or stomachache. I keep him away from junk food.
She also feeds me apples. She says an apple a day keeps...
If you want to keep germs away, then also wash your hands regularly with Dettol soap.
Meaning?
Germs and disease spread through the hand also. For this, use Dettol soap. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
Dear compatriots, our country can be as great as we want.
Let us all commit ourselves to its greatness.
We must be willing to set aside our differences, unite and stay as one.
In our expansive landmass, human and material resources, and plurality lies our strength.
Let our challenges lead us to rediscover our common ground, and together, let's find solutions.
This will take some time, so it requires patience, tolerance, and forgiveness from every one of us.
Let all hands come on deck to protect and transform our country.
Let us unite and see each other not as adversaries, but as brothers and sisters.
Together, we can build a better Nigeria for ourselves and for the next generations.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA, with support from Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Chelsea will look to bounce back from their loss against the defending champions when they take on Southampton at Stamford Bridge. Will they succeed? Find out this Saturday on the Premier League Live. It's Chelsea versus Southampton, showing on the network service of the NTA from 2:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu, empowered by Integral.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria. We're on the home stretch for the conversation. Let's come back to Dr. Tim Okon. Dr. Tim Okon, the issue of funding has been raised by the other guests against the background of the prevailing bias of the more advanced countries seeking to ramp up availability of renewables. But we do know that oil and gas will remain relevant for us. That's the key point to observe. But how then do we attract investment? How then do we generate investment for this sector? That's one, critical. But far more fundamental, if you will, has to do with the midstream sector, which remains so poorly developed in our environment, but which the PIA is supposed to also act as a leverage to enable us grow that sector. But it's not an overnight thing.
Thank you. I think that this is where the big challenge is. The challenge is that funding institutions, because of their shareholder pressure, etc., are going to be looking critically at whether they fund projects in oil and gas. And this requires a national rethink as to all the monies we earn from selling this crude. And as the former Minister of Budget used to say, you need oil to get out of oil. It is absolutely critical that Nigeria's foreign earnings be used for capital development, because we need to be in a position where we are not hamstrung or tied down because of somebody's decision, external decisions being made by those who have funds. So you need a national effort to redirect our foreign earnings to critical investments in this regard. This is where I say that the forecast has been made. Now we need to incorporate it into our national thinking, the way in which we run the budget, and our commitment, because if you look at NNPC, is the largest equity holder of assets in oil and gas in Nigeria. What the PIA did was to equip it with a basis for which it would be able to function. But it has interest and it has partners. It needs to be able to fund these projects. So we must have a national rethink as to how we direct funds, preferably, of course, funds that are, foreign currency denominated funds, which you can now import the necessary equipment for going to gas and so many other things. The PIA seeks to help this effort by having a midstream fund, which is really for the midstream. But critically, those funds will not be sufficient. And I think the initial proposals was 1%, and then it was reduced to 0.5%, etc. But there must be national effort in redirecting investment into creating the economic opportunities based on utilizing oil and gas resources here at home, even when you may not have counterpart funding. But it's critical for that discussion to take place. And this is all part of what the implementation, etc., and the strategic thinking that is required for Nigeria beyond just passing this legislation. So funding is possible, and I know fully well that those who might not be interested in funding the extraction may be more interested in funding gas projects, etc., because of the credits they can obtain, carbon credit. So there are different options for this, but there has to be national thinking and a strategic review of where our funds should go. It is not in recurrent expenditure and all of these things. It should go to some of these critical sectors to give birth to some of the things that we need to do. The second thing is that the PIA also creates a basis. With high oil prices, there is a windfall royalty scheme that enables you to get money into the sovereign wealth fund. So again, it enables you at prices of $80, as we had, I think, yesterday. You should be able to get an additional 3% or so royalty based on price, which should go naturally to the sovereign wealth fund. And this is where some of the investments that we need to do, especially in the midstream, to create opportunities for employing our people and basically improve the economic outcomes for this country.
Kieran, I was just wondering, that's a point that I would like Professor Wumi Eledare to speak to, if you don't mind. Professor Eledare, when we're taking a look at this outlook, oil will remain, demand is going to rise, and therefore we'll still be in the oil business. Against the backdrop of what we are seeing with the current oil price, $70-something pushing 80, but I'm sure that Nigerians themselves will not be smiling just yet. Yes, in terms of government revenue is there, but we do know that it also has an implication for our consumption of refined petroleum products. At a time when the Naira was strong, we had no issues. When you say that crude oil prices were benchmarked against major currencies, the Naira was $1.50, but we have seen the fate of our Naira. When you now come to gas, utilization, you see the issues that we're having with our thermal power plants, the gas supply agreement, no agreement, pay in Naira, don't pay in Naira. Even with our LPG, domestic cooking gas, the importation cost is also now being added to it to say, oh, it's valued in US dollars versus XYZ. What would all of this mean in the context of our current value of our national currency, and therefore, is this going to be happy news going forward, or we need again a strategic approach to evaluate this two-way traffic?
Well, thank you very much. You see, the economy is interconnected. You have four major sectors in any economy. One is the financial market. Two is the resource market. Three is the labor market. And four is the goods and services market. These four markets are so critical in order to be able to get your economy to the next level. But then, and I'm going to answer your question quickly, then you have what they call the monetary aspect of the economy, and you have the fiscal aspect of the economy, which is tax and spend. The tax and spend are normally with the politicians, but the monetary policy is insulated from politics because money supply is critical to the economy as an instrument. So, but when you don't manage your money supply properly well, then you have the type of problems that we have when every indicator of the economy is going in the wrong direction. Unemployment rate is high, interest rate is high, GDP growth is going down, and of course, inflation, which is a cancer to the economy, is also going up. And that's why the money supply component must be removed from politics. And that's what we have not done over the years. We've not been able to get a central bank governor that is independent of the political fray. You cannot control your exchange rate. You cannot control inflation. You cannot control unemployment rate. And the problem compounds. I want to go to PIA again. PIA is a good thing that happened to Nigeria at the right time in terms of economic emancipation. And I do not want us to becloud our judgment with OECD's own predictions. And this is why we need a National Energy Planning Commission. And we have. We have the Energy Commission and we have the Energy Council. Let them be apolitical so that they'll be able to solve some of these problems that we have. Because without energy, the economy cannot strive. And that has been our problem. So we must look at things that should not be political and insulate it. Because it is not political expediency when it comes to the pricing of petroleum products, the pricing of energy, and the pricing of even employees in terms of their wages. Politics must be taken out of that. And that's what we're not doing well. Now we have the opportunities, in my opinion. Quickly, if an economy is going to function and function well in terms of adding value, three important things must be taken care of. One is efficiency. Do the right thing. Do things right. And the second is effectiveness, which means doing the right things. And
Professor Ladere, we'd like to thank you. We'd like to thank you, for your submissions because we are running out of time. You have gone really down neck deep into economic analysis with respect to this conversation. Gentlemen, I hope that we will have time sometime in the future, really, to delve into the intricacies of this very topic this morning so we can cover all the perspectives, concerning the topic. And there's one thing I'd like us to note that in that broadcast by Barkindo, he made it very, very clear that the outlook underscores significant uncertainties for the demand and supply of oil, and it was clear, indicating that alternative GDP growth trajectories of some countries will create demand and supply uncertainties. On that note, we'd like to thank all of you for being here this morning for the conversation. First, let's thank Dr. Timothy Okon, petroleum economist and managing partner, Tenor Energy. It's been good sharing from your word of knowledge on this very topic. Thank you indeed for coming. And Odion Omofaman, I hope I'm right there, an energy expert. We'd like to appreciate you this morning for your contributions. And via Zoom from Ghana, we had Professor Wumi Iladere. It will be nice to have you again when such topic is on Good Morning Nigeria. Thank you for reaching us all the way from Ghana for this conversation. And from Warri via Zoom, we had Alex Nayin, MD CEO, Gakmok Nigeria Limited. We also thank you for being part of our conversation this morning on Good Morning Nigeria.
All right, so that's it for us on the program today. Thanks for being with us. We are back tomorrow, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. Until then, do take care of yourselves. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Kirian Umaya. Do have a wonderful day.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Did you get to see the way Daily Mabadu pulls this?
Don't forget to send in your messages.
There's a difference between picking, child, and issue.
لا تلقوا بأيديكم إلى التهلكة. That is. You can do more with less people.
If we have a better way of addressing these issues, taking care of.
Congratulations, you were able to sign Timo Werner from RB Leipzig.
So you take water before your workout.
People have used their phone, using TikTok to do this like.
Should I go for test?
A lot of people don't even have resources.
I'm Cecil, and this is the Medley Show on NTA.
Fellow compatriots, if no single tribe or religion has defeated poverty, then no single tribe or religion can develop Nigeria. The success story of every state and capital is the contribution of every tribe and religion. Our Nigeria no be wazobia. No majorities or minorities. Every tribe and every religion still a hustle for naira when no get tribe or religion. So, my country people, let's join this movement that says naira no get tribe and use the naira to develop our naira land. Citizens first. Citizens before state of origin. Citizens before your religion. Citizens before your ethnic belonging. For participation, call 0902 739 5555.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
This is the network service of the NTA.
and welcome to Thoughts for the Week. I'm Cordelia Obe, and the idea is to talk about things we usually would talk about. This time using proverbs, wise sayings, fables, you call them any name from around the world. And what are we looking at today? We are looking at being faithful to our friends. Welcome. Now, I have a story to share. It's a fable because I have some animals in it. Many, many years ago, there was a shark who had a monkey as a best friend. Every time the shark would swim to the island where this monkey was, and they'll be happy together. One day the shark said, my friend. As some people would say, my friendship. You don't even know where I live. Won't you come and visit me one day? And the monkey said, okay, why not if not? So it hopped onto the back of the shark, and the shark swam fast and straight towards the middle of the sea. When he got to his own home, all his friends, relatives, and all that were very happy. And the monkey said, why are your family people this happy? Shark said, our king is very sick. And they say we need the heart of a monkey to take care of him. And the monkey was almost fainting. Boy, he was very bold. So he said, my friend, why didn't you tell me what you wanted to do? You didn't trust me enough to tell me. Don't you know that we monkeys, we usually keep our hearts somewhere else? You see that tree you used to meet me? That's where I kept my heart now. And the shark said, He said, just take me back home. Let me collect my heart. I will come back. And the shark, okay. So to the amazement of everybody, the shark turned back and took the monkey back home. Now, our elders say, if God had not been the friend of the faithful ones and made them wise, even in the valley of death, life would have been extinct in the world. So, our monkey got home, got up to the tree, and told the shark that, you are a bad friend. Who told you? My heart is here with me. But thank God I escaped from you. And that was how the monkey got saved. My father told me that story many, many years ago, and I never forgot it, because he said that every parent should teach the child or their children how to be faithful to their friends. When you are faithful to your friends, somehow, when they try to plot evil or anything bad against you, somehow you have a means of escaping. It may not be the case all the time, but posterity would hold it dear in its heart, knowing that you have been faithful to your friends. That story is a story we should share every time, because every day it seems as if things are getting worse. People don't trust each other anymore. Whose fault? Now, for our thoughts for the week. Are you a good friend? Or are you a friend who is deliberately leading other friends into evil traps just because you want to make your own ends meet? Are you teaching your children to be faithful to their friends, but at the same time to be very, very wise? Think on these things till we meet again next time. Take care of yourselves, my friend. My name is Cordelia Obe. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Hello, and thanks for joining us again on the program Conversations. Now, my name is Elizabeth Abai. I often wondered a lot about certain things. One of them is man's hierarchy of needs, as postulated by Maslow. Now, I found out that right at the base is food, clothing, shelter. Directly on top of that is safety need. And I thought about it. I said it wasn't just for vain reasons that it was kept there. It is because it is imperative. When you have eaten, clothed, sheltered, the next thing is, am I safe? Yes. Security, it's important. And personal security is extra important. Why I say this is a lot of times we easily point accusing fingers, play the blame game. Who is responsible? What did I do wrong? Sometimes we even say it's not our portion. And then we play careless game and bring insecurity very close to our doorsteps. Now, today we will be looking at personal security. How do we expose ourselves, to certain things that could lead us to certain things that we may not like, occurrences, and how do we even go around ensuring that we are properly protected, we're properly guided in terms of being safe? Well, it's conversations. That means Elizabeth will not be speaking alone because it's not soliloquy. We have people seated here who are joining me having this, and one of them is an expert. But let's start with the lady. Introduce yourself, really.
My name is Chichi Ofo. I'm a journalist.
Okay.
Good morning, viewers. My name is Agoro Audu, a lawyer by legal practitioner.
Okay, and I know that for some reasons he's had a bit of relationship with security, so he's better, guided to direct us better. I have a lot of questions I will ask you, but before we get to that, something happened which my winning team, like I call them, were able to put together, reenacted for the purpose of these conversations. Let's see this on security.
The average person wants to be financially stable. Not a bad aspiration, but how extreme can we go to achieve this? For some, very extreme. This is the story of a young woman who was horribly a victim of those who chose to take these measures. On the 15th of May, Nneka Leonard planned on attending the memorial of a friend who had recently passed away. She was traveling from Lagos to Port Harcourt by bus and unknowingly fell into the clutches of kidnappers. While passing through Owerri, she noticed there were men and women on the bus, and after some time, she felt a hand cover her face and she passed out. When she regained consciousness, she was tied up in a forest at night in the middle of nowhere. She had been abducted along with 2 other women from the bus. Out of fear, Nneka started to scream.
Help! Somebody help! Help! Somebody help!
And 6 men appeared. They began to beat her up and stripped her naked.
Jago, come on, I get clothes now, fast now. I always say do like this.
Come on your clothes, you know the
Come on, this get clothes, I mean.
Come on your clothes.
Do it, one, do sharp. No,
that's the time no day. Open that now, open that clothes now. Come on your bra. You know.
If you don't come out this guy, I will not tear your clothes.
Come on that clothes.
They mad me.
They Chris. Come on town.
They then told her to call her people. She managed to get in touch with her family, but tragically, this was not the case for 2 of the other women. 2 days later, the kidnappers informed her and the last woman that they had people who cared enough to pay their ransoms.
Omo, you get luck, say your people like you. I swear you get luck.
I swear,
you get luck.
So in the middle of the night, a man on a motorcycle came and carried the 2 women away. The man then left them alone on a deadly road. Because they appeared unkempt, as they had been beaten up and were naked, no one approached them except for one man who offered to help. This was how Nneka Leonard's life was spared. Regrettably, this gruesome experience is not unusual, so it can affect anyone out there. Stay safe and always be aware of your environment.
Wow. The story of Nneka, it may have been reenacted, but I can assure you it did happen. but we couldn't have followed it happening, so it had to be reenacted. But, you know, something that got me, you know, thinking on that story was she entered a public bus and it wasn't on the road. It wasn't in the park, it was on the road. How do we still do that with what is going on? Just wondering.
Okay. Well, the issue of personal security, before I even comment on that, I think it's very essential that we get to understand that concept very well. Even though it appears general, it appears common, it's not very common as it is. Personal security, these measures you take to deter, to delay, and to prevent any harm or any immediate danger and that will occur to a person. And this is much more concerned with the individual. So before you look at to say personal security, you have to look at yourself first, because you are you and you are you. And before you now think of what other people can do or your neighbor can do. So that is just essentially what personal security it's all about. What do you do to prevent any harm that will befall you? Harm from different perspectives. So in view of the story that we have just watched now, I think what came to my mind was this problem of, not, going through designated areas or transport system. When you go to designated motor parks, and, these are the first steps you take that will actually go a long way to reduce the risk that you face along the way. There are so many, and perhaps permit me, please, even as we discuss this issue of personal security, you have to understand the matrix or the problems or the challenges we have currently across the country. Generally, there are denominator of security threats across the country.
Different ones.
From different zones.
Yeah.
And within the Abuja and suburbs and the towns and immediate towns and Abuja, there are particular things that we have to understand as individuals. So even as we move, as we carry out our activities, we should be able to understand that these are things we'll encounter: kidnapping, terrorism, thefts, housebreaking, activities of these cult groups. These are issues that there are so many, illicit arms that are so all over the place. So the individual has to understand that, look, this is the environment I found myself. So I think it is, so when you are conscious of what threats that you anticipate along you, you should be able to now,
prepare yourself.
You prepare yourself.
From what you're saying,
yes,
a lot of times we have this, I think, religious attitude to things. We keep saying, oh, it's not my portion.
Yeah. I reject it in Jesus' name.
Oh, yeah, you got it. So it's not your portion. And you think those things happening in the news, every day we listen to it, it's not, it happens only on television. No. They're real, Because I recall a particular person who was robbed. She will often go out to, have her early morning exercise as early as 4:35. And when she heard about insecurity and all that, she probably stepped down a little bit to 5:30.
Okay.
And even when she was mentioned, it was mentioned to her, reminded, she said, no, it's not my portion. Nothing will happen to me. So every morning she goes out, does her thing, and then comes back. And consistently, she always felt, I have always gone and I've always come back. So it's not about me. It happens to other people.
It can't happen to me.
Exactly like that, until one fateful day, she was attacked by 2 boys with a knife. And it wasn't even that early anyway, like 6:30. It was almost daylight. So she got attacked on her way back. And then since that day, she learned her lesson. I don't know how we can inculcate this in the minds of people, because the truth is, when it comes to security, it's something that you cannot predict.
Definitely. You can predict. It can happen to you even in your house. It can happen to you in your house, just for you to be prepared. If you're alone in the house, maybe you bring in an artisan to come do maybe electrical work or plumber or all those stuff. As a lady, maybe if you're alone in the house, try to dress very well. Maybe wear a jeans, a tight top. Don't close the door of your sitting room. Make sure everything is okay in case there's any attack. That's another form of always being prepared, in terms of how prepared are we,
You're right.
in curbing all those things. So you have to always be prepared. I think preparedness is the most important thing. Have it at the back of your mind, as your subconscious. It is not safe anywhere. Even in my home, I can be attacked. So I have to make steps. How do I?
Perhaps let me use this opportunity to clear some issues. One, you see, this religious beliefs and what have you, I think we get it wrong. The Bible itself tells me that, look, you should be wise.
Be diligent at all
be
times.
Diligent, be wise.
Yeah.
I believe the Quran will have similar provisions. God has given you the knowledge. He said, I created you in my own image, and I gave you my own sense, my own distance. So that is the first step. So when you start talking about, in the name of Jesus, this, I reject this. What are you rejecting? What are you rejecting?
Rejecting attack.
So when somebody tries to immune himself with some false, imaginary things that clearly you should know that. What are you talking about? Like we were saying, once we clear that from our mind, that look, these things happen and they are destined to happen, because if you are careless, you will get the repercussion.
On a daily basis, it happens.
Yes.
When you talked about the Bible and protection and all of that,
yes,
a particular story in the Bible came to my mind when it was said Jesus was tempted. At a point, the devil told him to jump down from wherever.
Yeah.
He told the devil to get behind him. He refused to jump down.
Yes.
Because he knew at a point it is not about you being God or being child of God. It's you having your sense. Like you said, you mentioned about bringing people to repairmen, artisans to work with you. In the first place, if I have to bring in an artisan to my house, there has to be a second person. If I'm living alone, a lot of people in Abuja live alone.
Yeah.
If you live alone, if your compound has security, tell the security man to hang around. And you made a very valid point. Don't lock your outlets.
Yeah.
And go extra mile as soon as you open door. For me, if I open door for somebody to come into my house, that key, you use to turn the door. If it's on the door, I remove it. It goes to my pocket. That is, even if or not, I am alone. And then I hear some people call people on the phone, said, go home. That wire is there. My daughter is in the house.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about? The people that will kill you are people that know you. Because the person that made that statement, I said, why are you asking an electrician to go to your place when your child is in the house? He said, he's been working with us for 10 years. I know him very well. He's not a stranger that will hurt you.
At all.
It's always people that you know.
That is true.
And I think another thing I wanted us to look at is, this personal security. For us to really understand, maybe let me compartmentalize, let me segment it. The home security, the security in your home, your environment. Now, the workplace security. Now, the other security, that is where you go out, either to meet up with people, gatherings, your movements, general outside. So when we take it from the home, what are those general precautions that we ought to know? As we discuss this, criminals are listening to us.
Definitely.
So there are some basic things that we need to look at from when you are talking about the home. You are talking about the physical security measures you take, even in your house. What are these measures? Yes, one thing one would say that, yeah, security is a very expensive business. No, there are some basic things that you have to put in place. Your home environment. Who are your neighbors? What is the sensitivity of the area you are living in? In terms of movement of people around you. These are things that you have to be very conscious of. What security measures are you supposed to put in place?
What kind of security measures?
Measures, physical
yes,
facilities
I was going to
measures.
ask.
Yes. The thing is, you have to talk about fencing, lighting, movement, guards and what have you. But take note, these are not things that you look at. You have poor people too. There are basic steps that neighbors take too. We are talking about, in fact, living in an environment, maybe in a rented house where I have neighbors. What steps do I take? Of course, you have to know that those neighbors, you're already one family.
Do you really know your neighbors at times?
That's the question I was going to ask.
Do you know your neighbors at times? Do you know where they work?
Ask.
What do they do? What kind of business do they venture into? You might not know your neighbors. Seriously. Like where I live, I don't really know my neighbors that much. I wake up in the morning, I go to work, and I come back at night. So
I think that's the first thing we should actually remedy.
I think it's it's very important.
If you move into a place, it's imperative.
Yeah.
If the authorities that are listening, I think they should make it compulsory that the landlord or the lawyer or the caretaker, whoever that is responsible, the property manager, should ensure that details of neighbors are circulated within themselves. And if there's a new person coming in, they should also make efforts to introduce the new person to the older one so that they know, including what they do for a living. I'd like to know if I'm living with a swindler, and I'd like to know if I'm living with a criminal. If you tell me you work at so-and-so place, my curious mind could decide to investigate a little bit.
That's true.
And then I'll find out that you're not exactly what you say you are. I keep my 2 eyes on you. And then if something goes wrong, you're the first suspect.
That's true.
I could also be the investigator, just as I'm doing for other people. So I think we should make extra efforts to get to know our neighbors. And sometimes it's not easy. If I walk up to your house now, hello, I'm your new neighbor. I live in that building. My name is ABCD. You could just tell me, and so what? Please get out. So that's why I'm saying that the property managers should come in and ensure that any new person, information, at least tiny details of the person, is told
to each
to
and
us.
every person.
Exactly.
We're still talking about the security in the home and in the environment where you are staying. You see, I give an example. You are coming into your compound. Like you say, we are staying in a rented house. There are signals you give. Take note that the criminal, the person that wants to harm you, to harm your person, he must have done some what we call background studies on you, on your movement, because he selects his targets.
Exactly.
He doesn't just attack anybody. So there's something about you that he wants. And so there are simple measures that you take in the house. You may have signals as to when you are coming in, you are driving in. If I horn, if you open the gate, don't just open the gate. If I horn twice, it means there is danger. If I horn once, or if I flash my light, maybe I'm running from something, from somebody. Or if you are coming in, it amazes me, I've had the privilege of knowing of incidents that happen. The man comes to the house, he finds people loitering around his house, and he just goes in like that. And that brings me to the point that, look, we have to be what? Personal security
conscious.
is more of alertness.
Yeah.
Being alert, knowing your environment very well, being conscious of the activity. That's why I said sensitivity of your area. Being conscious of what is going on in your environment. Because in everywhere you are, whether it is highbrow area or what have you, there are certain things, indications you see when there's something unusual. Like the story you said about the lady that, said she keeps going this thing. Once you have a routine, that's the first step to...
Okay, routine.
Once you have a routine, that's the first step to exposing yourself to danger.
That's true.
Wow.
Once you have a routine.
Wow. Yeah, some people start following you up.
So once you have a routine,
tabs on you.
You have definitely already exposed yourself to danger. Of course, communication. Let me say something very, very interesting here. We are talking about personal security, cyber crimes and what have you. You know, you have situations where somebody calls you. Personal security does not mean just to harm you, to collect your money, to do everything. Somebody calls you, Mr. A, oh, Mr. Agoro, I've heard about you. I have good business for you. You start wondering. The person gives you a rundown about yourself. Let me tell you some of the common things they do. You see, church bulletins, for instance. Church bulletins. You have where they paste the telephone numbers of elders in the church, paste from the pastors, everybody. From there, the man gets the information. You go to attend a conference or a meeting, even a tribal meeting, even your staff meeting in the office.
Account.
You write your phone number. This, your phone number, this. This gets, somebody has access to it. You have so many examples that have happened. He gets access to it, he calls you. Then you become gullible. The man knows my name. He has my number. He does this. So these are some of the issues that we have to be conscious of. And come to think of it, some of these people, they just scramble numbers, you know, do guesswork. And because he has a true caller, it gives him who you are, your name. Yeah. And there he goes. So you become, you know, susceptible to all these things.
So the person knows me very
well. Very fundamental. If anybody calls you and start giving you these things, allow him to do the talking. Don't allow him to take the initiative. Interrogate him. You know, the moment you start interrogating him,
that's true. Someone called me some months back. I said, hello, Chichi. I said, hello, who's this? He said, Chichi, have you forgotten me? It's Oga something. He called one name. And I said, Oga. I said, sorry, I can't remember. He said, do you still live in that house in Asokoro? I said, why are you asking? You know, he kept on talking and talking. I just found out that I'm sure this guy, yeah.
All right, so Inobong just joined us. Inobong, what is the problem?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry I'm late. Speaking of security, I had one at home. So my security guy, I didn't tell him I was leaving early. He's used to me not leaving early. So he left the house and I had like 2 vehicles blocking me. Yeah. So what she said about neighbors, I don't have their numbers.
This is interesting.
And one of them went out jogging. So definitely I'm at the mercy of looking for the security guy or waiting. So the little bits delayed me. So the man came and he said, oh, you should have told me. And I'm like, you know, I don't have your number. So, and I'm not even on the neighbors WhatsApp group. Because I'm like, I always said there's no need. I never felt the need to. So yeah, that's why I am late. And
so when you go back today, you're going to include yourself in your neighborhood WhatsApp because it's really important.
It is.
Things could be happening. That's the only way they can alert you.
The funny thing about even the WhatsApp, it was created after we had a robbery incident in our compound. Prior to that, the whole tenants didn't know themselves. You just knew someone's car, so you know that this is the permanent car. So you come out, oh, I know this car, and you know that is all. We didn't know our names, we didn't know where we worked, we didn't know anything about anybody. You know,
I just said that
after we had a robbery incident, so the robbers brought us together.
Oh.
And everybody came together, got vigilante, you know, got the WhatsApp group so we can communicate. And me, I did not see the need to join the group. So I told them they shouldn't include me. So
imagine.
That is it. However, speaking on security, and Lizzie, I have plenty things to talk about.
Yeah. Go ahead. Security.
So, coming from like a business perspective and all that, I don't know if there is a need to talk about security in the business.
Yes, definitely.
Of course. Because I had a meeting with my staff. Like before I opened my business, I had to go to other people who were doing the same thing. And I said, how do you ensure security? Like, what are the major steps? Oh, camera. Oh, this one. Oh, that. And I realized that it's not effective. So if you have a camera that's, okay, it's connected to your phone, and maybe you have a monitor, I'm here right now. I can't be looking at my phone 24/7. I'm here, like, if I had a monitor, I can't be looking at the screen. So the question is, how do you effectively ensure that security is tight in your office, local business or whatever? So for me personally, I got something that helps. There is something that the Nigerian police does. They do, it's like a biometric check for workers. This is something a lot of businesses don't know. So you go to the Nigerian police, they do the thumbprint, because you know everybody has a unique thumbprint.
Yeah.
So they take their thumbprints, take their information. You don't even need a guarantor and all that. The moment they have your thumbprints, it's like a whole system. They have like an electronic system where they put their contacts and everything. They take the passports and all that, all the thumbprints and all. Anywhere you are in the world, they will find you if you try to steal. So by the time you do that with your staff, and they are aware of the consequences, it is maybe the petty stealing 500, 200, but I don't think anybody would decide to go away with maybe 1 million naira when you understand what is at stake. You often hear people, you know, saying, "Oh, Nigerian police, this one, that one, that one." The truth is, if they want to do their job, they actually know what they are doing.
Anyway, you know, you do have a point there, but talking about the CCTV cameras,
yes,
I've seen a lot of people mount it, and it's just for fancy, and they don't really follow it up. I think that every CCTV camera has a possibility of recording, so you can always record. If you come into your place, it's your business, and you notice at certain time something is amiss, you can call for the recorded materials and go through it. And when you're not even, you know, suspicious of anything, on your own you could decide when you come in to go scan through, you know, spot check what happened, what did not happen, assuming you didn't have time to follow up on your phone. And if your workers understand that you're always on their matter, you know, through the CCTV.
You're on it.
Yeah. If they know, they're going to have to sit up.
Yeah, but I mean, we've seen so many stories on social media where workers, especially those that are doing online business, so you entrust your business into someone's hands. So if you're chatting with me, you don't know if I am the owner, you don't know if I'm the worker, and I give you an account number to pay money, you will pay. I will supply the goods, but the owner of the business cannot track.
Okay.
So we've had issues like that, where workers send personal account numbers to unsuspecting clients and they pay the money anyway. They send products. Oftentimes, it might be their own products. You know, it's like maybe let's say hair, for example.
I wanted to go there.
You know, I can be working for someone. I understand her business, I understand her pattern, and I start my own using her clientele, using all the facilities and everything that she has. So oftentimes, even the worker might not understand why they're having decline in sales and all, because a worker is really extorting customers.
Okay, yes, what I want to say is we are talking about personal security. And the business I mentioned, I said workplace, the home, the workplace, and where you go out. This, how do you protect? Let me just comment on what we have just discussed. One, technology is very good when you talk about personal security. However, most fundamental, most crucial is personnel security. That's another aspect altogether. Okay. We are talking about your workers, the people you engage. You see, no matter how good your technology is, no matter how high it is, if you don't have the right people, you know, you can't get it.
Yeah.
And that goes even in your own personal security. We have had situations where workers arrange for the kidnap, for the killing of their employers.
Yeah. Remember what happened in Bobola, the school owner?
What advice do you give? One, ensure that you vet them properly. And what does this vetting entail? Going deeply to really get background history, checks on this fellow that you want to engage. Because you are not just engaging somebody, you are entrusting your business. You are entrusting your life to that person. And so, very, very crucial, you have to make sure whoever you employ is the proper person, is proper and fit for you to engage to run your business. Of course, in your place of work, you are talking about personal security in your place of work. There are certain other measures that, apart from mounting CCTV and what have you, and personnel, there are other issues, critical issues you have to look at also when you are talking about personal security, because you are thinking of how safe my employers will be. Even the setting up of that your business environment or your place of work, the NTA itself. I came in here. We were talking about personal security. When I drove in, they said, go and park at the parking lot. I looked at the vehicles. I said, if there is any attack here, or if they want to, let me park my vehicle where the vehicle I'm coming in will look so unique that they will look for people. Where is the owner of this Jeep? When they come out, where is the owner of this Jeep? I mean, these are some of the measures to take in place. Deliberately, I said, let me go and park this car here because we are talking about, so when we come out, who will be the victim? Who will be the target? Nobody will ask after me. I'm sure of that. So these are some of the things that they are common things, but, you know, we take them simple. But these are issues that we... then another issue I think I want us to look at again is when you go out, even to relax, to meet friends, social outings and what have you. There are many things that occur now that...
You know, now you're talking about this, I mentioned about uniqueness.
Yes.
It's really very important. If we go out at certain times, we maintain the status quo of being the regular Joe on the streets. You're going out in the night. I mean, if it's really, really that necessary, you know, for you to go out at night, that's not when to go, you know, dress all up, you know, pad up and all of that, and call attention to yourself, wear all your bling bling. You're driving through certain places in Abuja, Lagos, and all over Nigeria that are notorious for security issues. For women, your jewelries are hanging, your wristwatch is hanging. Probably you have two phones. One is a younger version. I don't want to say small. It's a younger version. So you won't carry the younger version to go out. You carry the big one. Definitely. And you expect to be safe. You know, it's sometimes we call attention unnecessarily to ourselves by the way we move on. You might, the same road somebody will go through and go and come back safely. Another person goes through because of your attitude. People, you become a bait for them, for the bad ones. I don't know.
And I think there's a topic we had here, a show we had here, and I learned something from it that I have used till date. So for those watching us right now, if you find yourself in an environment, I think not really environment, markets, anywhere that you are not sure of, you know, the people around, but you have your car parked there, before you get to your car, remove your key and hold first.
Thank you.
You know, if it is the one that has the remote, it's easier. Yeah. But you know, if you're not sure of where your car is parked, remove your car. When you get to your destination, open the car, enter inside, and lock it.
Lock the door. Yes.
That's like the first step. She taught me, and I have used that the whole time.
I have always done that for a very long time.
Before you can now maybe open your bag, get your phone, and every other thing you have to do. Enter the car and lock yourself in. It helps, you know,
I
security
do that.
consciousness.
Most times, I'll just throw my key inside the bag. But when the time I get to my car, I say, oh, where's my key? I start looking for the key to press.
Because, you know, if anybody's going, especially when you don't know the area you are parked, if anybody's going to rob you, while you're looking for your car key, they can just...
And even when you're... In fact, if I go to a grocery shop, after packing everything, somehow, in Nigeria, they always give us our polythene bags. Somehow, I always go with my own extra bags. That way, I'm able to put everything into one case. It's easier for me to carry. Then I bring out the car key. I ring it to my finger. So when I'm very close and I press, the door opens, I drop in the whole thing on the passenger seat in front, sit down, lock my door. I can begin to transfer to the back. I do the same when I get home. Before I leave my car, the house key is already on my finger. It's easier for me, you know. So, but speaking of security and areas where we have security challenges, again, my people took time and noted where we have, you know, security challenges here in Abuja. I weren't able to go around Nigeria, but at least in Abuja, if you're around here, be careful, don't move in the night, and don't carry big bags when you're within those areas. But let's see it. That's some of the tips there. If you're within Abuja, the areas you know that are very dangerous, you avoid it. And of course, the phone numbers are there too for different states for you to reach out if you're in trouble or you see anyone in trouble. We also know that generally we have the 122, right? For
yeah,
Nigeria.
for the Nigerian
for
emergency.
the general.
I think it's 112.
Okay, 112.
General.
Maybe while we are on it, I could just give it a try because somebody was arguing. He said it doesn't work and it works and all of that. So I'm going to call it while we are on and see what goes on. And at the end of the day, 112, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we're dialing 112 and waiting for it to ring. We will take some of the questions. Someone says here, personal security is very important. You have to secure yourself before second party will enter. Choma Stella Ibekwe from Kano. Choma is writing in from Kano, and we'll take one more before moving back. Benjamin from Enugu, your program is fantastic, but add this to it. Home security should be taken seriously by paying them well and stop taking them for granted in the name of paying them salaries. I think that's a very crucial point.
Yeah, very well.
A lot of times we underpay people that really take care of us.
Domestic staff, yeah.
Not really security, especially the gates, the one that they get, you pay somebody 10K.
No,
you are driving a car.
It could be your house.
50 million.
You stay in your own personal duplex, and you employ security. It's a part of your domestic staff. So you're paying him from. It's not that it's a collective thing that everybody pays. So it's your domestic staff.
Like domestic staff, we mean like
your security man.
Yeah,
it's part of your domestic staff. Yeah, the security man,
cleaners,
your cleaner, yeah,
chefs, etc.
Your driver.
Yeah, driver. But for the topic we are having now, the two positions that triggers the most are the security, the person who opens the gate and closes and is awake at night while you are sleeping.
Yeah.
In quotes, awake. And your driver, your personal driver. Yeah. See, those two people can make or mar you if you don't treat them right.
Your cook too, or your house servant in the house could do the same.
Yeah, that's what I was like for the cook and the house help. For the house help, it's a bit easier because before you employ them, you definitely do like the medical checks, like run medical checks on them. Want to be sure that their medical fits. The same thing with the cook.
Yeah.
The house help cleaning the house. You can have cameras and monitor. You can monitor their movements, especially when they are living in and they go home over the weekend. You can monitor. The chef, the same thing, especially when they are living in. They can go home. You can monitor what they are doing. Even the food, you can monitor. But if the driver is not living in, you can't monitor what the calls they make after work. If the security man is living at the security post, you can't monitor the calls they make. You can't monitor the people they see when you are not around. So, if the security man and the driver are criminals,
they can connive. And
it is very easy for them to connive.
Yeah.
Because driver is providing intel to security man as regards to your whereabouts, where you will be at the time, where you are, how long you are staying.
That's true.
Security man is telling the main gang, you're not at home. No. This is where you are. You can operate now. And with the chef and the domestic staff, they can easily tie those ones up. It's easy. So the security and the driver are like two people that need to be treated right.
Maybe sounding highly repetitive of what I've said earlier. I think we are emphasizing just one point here, that there is a need for us to know who are
we are employing.
Who we are employing.
Yeah.
Now, that is one. Two, very fundamental too. We have to, as individuals, have to be these are some of the principles of personal security which we should imbibe as individuals. One, you have to be very, very, very conscious security at neutral, alert at all the time. There is one joke we used to share, when we were on the other side. We said, don't think it will not happen. Don't underestimate the power of the next person you are meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So, alertness, communication, your response, initiative, your resourcefulness matters a lot. You have to develop those areas very well so that before, and another important thing, your quick response to report any suspicious activity you see around you. Prompt reporting. And for every crime to be committed on you, there are always indicators.
Yes.
There must be an indicator. For every security challenge, there must be indicators that is your ability or our ability to see these indicators and respond
to it promptly.
Quickly, that matters a lot. And that is why I said we have to be at alert. We have to be able to report immediately whenever we suspect any suspicious activity. Even your relations. The people that come to you.
You know, what you're saying is very important because a lot of times we pass information about ourselves without intending to. You know, we are not even, planning on any, just very, very naive. But like they always say, ignorance is no excuse. So naivety is also not an excuse. Yeah. I decide to go to a place tomorrow, maybe Kaduna, maybe Borno, whatever it is, and then I am announcing it to everybody around. Some people get angry when people don't tell them, oh, you were even traveling, you did not even tell me. It's not because I don't like you. I'm trying to protect you and I. If somebody wants to find out information about me, the person may not come to me direct. The person could go to my husband, could go to my children. So the less information we put in the hands of people, the better. Or even we tell them, but we also make sure that they understand the fact that they must keep their mouth shut. You know, when it comes to people, some women claim they are very busy. I'm not saying we're not busy, but I'm never too busy for my children. It's imperative. All my school runs, I do them myself. I don't have to send a driver. We've had instances where people pick people's children. In fact, the other day in Aba, a woman who is even not working, it's very annoying, employed the services of a keke driver, a tricycle, to be doing school runs for her. And then one fateful day, this man had done this for over a year, so she was very comfortable. At first, she used to go with the man. So when she became at home with the man, she would let the man carry her children and drop off and bring back to her. And you're not working. At the end of the day, this man carried the 3 children to the ritualists and they were all killed.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah, it was in the news. I think that was last year or so. Stop. It's painful, So we should never take anybody for granted. We should never really get so comfortable. If the children were in heaven, they were not begging you to bring them. You brought them, so you must be responsible
for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you have to send your children to school, please carry your children to the school and bring them back yourself. Let's stop living our responsibilities.
Otherwise, you just put them in a school that is close to the house, so it's a walking distance. You just walk down there, and when they are old enough, they can find a way. But there's no excuse, really.
There's no excuse.
There's no excuse.
6-year-old, 3-year-old, like that. All of them just wasted.
She left her
6-year-old. 3-year-old, these people are not even big enough. They're primary school and nursery school people.
And she isn't working.
She wasn't employed.
So what's she doing with her time?
That's the laziness we're talking about. Even if you're employed.
That's carelessness.
Negligence.
Even if you're employed. I knew somebody who was working in a bank, a woman. When she said making children, she said, no, I'm not going to work in a bank because I want to be mother to my children. And she quickly moved in, took another job. Everybody thought she was crazy. She said, no, I want to be mother to my children. So I think if we begin to understand security the way it is, then it will be better for us. There's another person here is asking us, okay, good morning. Thanks for your program. Please, I would like you to display the safety numbers to call, especially the south-south lines. God bless you. We may not be able to display this here now, but if you go to our Facebook page, you will get it full-time, pasted there. So you can get to a copy on your own. What she said about neighbor, but from my understanding, you're supposed to engage with your neighbor because of other purposes that will happen. May God help us and may God bring peace to our neighbors, our Naira land. Okay, you say you don't know your neighbors. Somebody's attacking you, kitchen. So you must go back and know your neighbors. It happens to me. I plugged my phone in my neighbor's shop and someone went there and took the phone. without the guy's consent and withdrew all my money. Wow, that's really bad. You shouldn't show Benue an emergency number, please. This is from Makodi. He didn't tell us why. Is it that the numbers are not functioning? Okay. God will help us all. Amen. We agree to that. Anyway, let's give our round words. On your own part, your time is up. On a parting note, what's your advice to Nigerians as to how to secure themselves?
Nigerians, if we want to, the first step is for us to be alert at all times. 1, 2, we should be able to quickly report any suspicious activity to the relevant security agencies, and we should learn to know who our neighbors are.
It's
very,
important.
Very crucial, very critical. And again, and finally, sorry, I'm not taking so much of our
Go
time.
ahead.
Now, you go out, this is a trend I've noticed. You see somebody, drawing attention to himself, talking on phone here and there. Men particularly, we are very good, especially on social gatherings like that. These are unnecessary. And this is where you attract harm to yourself. So I think essentially we should be at alert all the time and be vigilant. And don't expect that it cannot happen. Thank you.
So in addition to what he has said, I think we should take our personal security serious. What I mean is the information you put on social media, take it serious. So don't put information like pictures with your ATM card or credit card, pictures with your plate numbers, your address, your pictures with your home address, your children's school. Maybe you can put a picture of them, but not with their the name of their school. Your home, the street name or the number. Let's just be let's be alert, And I'm sorry to say, let's be spiritual. Sometimes when you pray about these things, it helps you with being alert.
Okay.
Because even if you are busy, sometimes the Lord helps.
All right.
So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Let me just start from what I just said earlier. I don't really know my neighbors that much because I moved into that place not too long ago and all that. And I'm trying to know some of them, but not really all. But I know some. It's very imperative for you to know your neighbors. If it's 1 or 2 persons, get their number. It's very important. Anything can happen to you. It could be that you are sick and now you're alone. Maybe your husband isn't at home, your kids aren't there, no house help. You can call your neighbor. Please, could you just help me? It's another way, or maybe something is happening around your neighborhood. You're hearing a noise somewhere, maybe behind the back or behind you or somewhere. You could call and say, or text or chat or something and say, can you just maybe call someone? There's something happening somewhere. It's another way of securing yourself, your neighbors, and all that.
All right, so thank you very much. What else can I add except that we should all pay attention to our environment. If it's not necessary, please don't go out. Curtail your movement. COVID-19 came, we were all locked inside the house and we didn't die. So if it's not necessary, please stay at home.
Also,
if it's necessary, you can
save our numbers, the security numbers we put on the screen. Let them see.
Yeah, we're even going to put it up on our Facebook page. So save the security numbers, try them out and see if they work, and then you ensure that you use it when it's necessary. Please, mind yourself. Don't be that nocturnal. Sit down in your house in the night. All right? We'll see you again next week.
Thank you. I think both of those are living in areas with
We want to talk about rights, there are obligations. I'm not saying that this government is a saint, it's very far from it. But there are things that we can do to make it better, and that's the challenge I'm throwing to you. You don't want to build this nation? I don't know where else you want to go. If I had a choice, I'll come back. When I stand outside and I hear what you have to say about this country that I know that I can die for as one, then I'm really sad because you're young. You have education. You have tools. You have a huge future ahead of you. And you're condemning yourself before you started on that journey. So please don't do that. Please don't.
Stop this senseless killing. All we need is one Nigeria.
I think we have come to the threshold of time when we need to seek for peace.
We need peace
in this country. We need peace in Nigeria.
And together, we can pull through.
No matter where you come from.
Hausa, Igbo, or Yoruba.
We cannot achieve a better Nigeria by fighting.
Let us stand together in brotherhood and solidarity and strive for peace.
And not because of their tribal or their religion or whatsoever background.
Doesn't matter.
A warm welcome to the news at 10, reaching you live on NTA News 24. I'm Comfort Amadu with the news. President Buhari inaugurates Police Special Protection Unit in Omagwa, Rivers State. Senate calls for emergency repairs of roads nationwide as House of Representatives approves MTEV and Fiscal Strategy Paper 2022 to 2024. OPEC unveils World Oil Outlook, projects higher demand ahead. A National Automotive Design and Development Council launches Autogas app that provides information on made in Nigeria vehicles. Here are the details of the news. The ongoing reforms of the Nigerian police force has received a boost with the donation of office complex and barrack to the Police Special Protection Unit by the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. Inaugurating the project in Port Harcourt, President Muhammadu Buhari, represented by the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, reiterated the commitment of government to the welfare of police officers in the country. Robinson Deretede has the details.
The Nigeria Police Special Protection Unit Base 6 Omagwa River State is named after President Muhammadu Buhari. It is a tactical unit of the Nigerian Police Force to provide security for high-risk individuals and political office holders, with the Omagwa base serving as an operational center to other catchment areas in the South-South. The project, which was abandoned since 2012, consists of administrative block, a commander's residence, and 64 flats for senior officers located at Omagwa, few kilometers to the Port Harcourt International Airport. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo maintained that the project will enhance the security footprint of the country and consolidate the economic benefit of the people in the area.
It is an important part of our government's efforts to improve the lives and livelihoods of our police officers and men, and is also another important milestone in my administration's pursuit of the peace, prosperity, and development of the Niger Delta.
Rivers State Governor Yoson Wike and the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Godswill Akpabio, called for synergy between the NDDC and all states to avoid duplication of projects and facilitate early completion of abandoned projects.
I want to commend this interim board for realizing that every administration is a continuum. For not awarding new projects, but to complete the ones you have seen there.
Abandoned projects in the region were about 13,777. You can imagine the number. Now, I don't want to blame anybody because this is the time for action. Of the 13,777 projects, we'll look at the ones that we can complete for the benefit of the people. And I assure you that they will be completed for your benefit.
This intervention, in our estimation, will undoubtedly help in improving the security in River State, especially in the vicinity in this locality that we are.
The project demonstrates the commitment of the leadership of Niger Delta Development Commission to supporting the Nigeria Police Force and the federal government in enhancing the capacity of the Nigeria Police Force to achieve its internal security operations mandate, particularly in the Niger Delta region.
Police ceremonial parade and cultural dances added color to the event. From Amagua in River State, Robinson Deratede, NTA News.
Nigerian's President Emi Oshibaja says social protection schemes can break the cycle of poverty, give real access to jobs, economic opportunities, and improve human capacity. The Vice President, during a United Nations High-Level Forum on Jobs and Social Protection Scheme he attended, virtually gave instance of Nigerians' response to the fallout of COVID-19, which he said was guided by the conviction that social protection schemes are crucial and can break the cycle of poverty, give real access to jobs and economic opportunities, and improve human capacity and productivity. He added that the economic sustainability plan of the federal government is aimed at restoring growth by reducing the macroeconomic shocks, tackling the health challenge, averting business closure, protecting and creating jobs. The Vice President also restated the call for improved access to vaccines and sustained funding of gas projects, stating that Nigeria believes also that the already challenging global environment is now being further complicated by lack of access to vaccines. Senate has urged the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to, as a matter of emergency, expedite works on the repairs of damaged portion of roads across the country. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Onkwo reports.
First reading taken.
Legislative interventions on road infrastructure across the country led proceedings at Senate plenary. The Deputy Chief Whip of the Senate, Sabi Abdullahi, drew the attention of the legislators to what he described as a terrible state of roads in Niger State, as he canvassed for the declaration of state of emergency on the roads and for the federal government to provide 300 billion naira emergency special intervention fund for the repair of bad roads in Niger State. In his own motion, Senator Mustapha Olalekon urged the federal government to embark on repairs of bad roads nationwide.
Intervention fund for the critical roads in Niger State to the tune of 300 billion to concurrently fix the roads as part of the infrastructure rehabilitation efforts of the government.
That this existential threat is posing a danger to human safety and causing significant disruption to both economic and social activities.
Just from Okene to Lokoja, the road is very unmotorable.
Senate passed the Federal Medical Center Owutu Eda Ebonyi State Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Michael Nnachi, while the bill seeking to repeal the Electricity Power Sector Reform Act 2005 and to enact the Electricity Act 2021, sponsored by Senator Gabriel Suswam. The Federal University Guzau Teaching Hospital Establishment Bill by Senator Sahabi Yao and the Federal College of Education Ekeadolo Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Matthew Orogide, passed second reading.
For the industry to provide the ideal legal institutional framework that will guide the post-privatization phase of the industry in Nigeria.
To provide a comprehensive legal and institutional framework for the post-privatization phase of the power sector in Nigeria
is long overdue, especially now that the board of the Federal Medical Center Gusau has requested for an upgrade of the center to a university teaching hospital.
Lead to an unbridled quest for vigorous expansion of College of Education in Nigeria.
Senate has urged all multinational oil companies to relocate to their operational bases as it resolved to investigate alleged fake COVID-19 test results used to defraud Nigerians in Ghana for fake vaccination cards. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
The House of Representatives has approved the federal government's 3-year fiscal projection for 2022 to 2024, otherwise called Medium-Term Expenditure Frame and Fiscal Strategy Paper. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports on these and other features during Tuesday's plenary.
Towing same line with the Senate, which approved the key parameters last week Wednesday, House members asked the Committee of the Whole endorse the federal government's 3-year fiscal plan as recommended by the House Committee on Finance. The House approved the removal of some agencies of government from national budgets.
Many agencies of the government demonstrate capacity to stand on their own without depending on federal government budget, thereby depleting the optimal usage of national resources. For example, NAFDAC and Nigerian College of Aviation Technology in Zaria.
I think a lot of these things, shortfall in revenue, MDAs relying on operating capital and all of that by law, I think these things can be cured by legislation.
The House has passed the bill to establish Nigerian Maritime Security Trust Fund and the bill to establish Nigerian Council for Social Work, while a bill to establish Federal University of Education Katsina Ala, Benue State, sponsored by Richard Bandi, passed second reading.
To provide training and teaching in every aspect of education in Nigeria.
Meanwhile, House members have urged the Federal Ministry of Works to present to the National Assembly an action plan that requires legislative intervention to enable immediate repair of federal roads and bridges damaged by recent rainfall, as moved by Isiaka Ibrahim.
It has caused severe damages to roads and bridges in different parts of the country, leaving behind tales of woes, despondency, social and economic challenges.
Lawmakers passed a resolution sequel to a motion from the minority leader Ndudi Lumelu to investigate alleged insertion into the security tips section of the National Youth Service Corps NYSC handbook, advising co-members to contact their family members when kidnapped for ransom.
Under Section 8E, Section 65E of the NYSC Security Tips pamphlet, advising corps members to tell their families to make ransoms available in case they are kidnapped on the road.
But where an institution has come out publicly, not privately, officially denied something, we must also take cognizance of the fact, which is a problem in this country, about documents, even the Constitution. Unfortunately, you find fake constitutions are being sold on the street, and something needs to be done about that.
Following observations by the House concerning concurrence of House bills as the Senate, the Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, directed Clerk of the House to contact his counterparts at the Senate on the issue. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Gender and Equality Opportunities Bill before the National Assembly is not to give women unlimited powers, but to provide a smart investment in women for a prosperous nation. These are voices at a breakfast meeting with media executives to garner support for the bill at its second reading. John Niaku has the details.
Women for some time now have suffered discrimination, violence and other forms of abuse. In an effort to change the narrative in Nigeria, a bill was initiated at the Senate plenary for legal framework on gender and equality opportunities. The bill, however, suffered a setback due to some grey areas relating to culture and religion. It was reintroduced, and having passed first reading at Senate plenary, getting the necessary support for it at the second reading is the reason for this breakfast meeting with media executives to sensitize and create awareness for its public acceptance.
When the GO bill was on, there were about 3 or 4 issues
that were very, very contentious. And I think my sister Amina had mentioned the fact that it was labeled as an abortion bill. And why? Because the bill was talking about the need for family planning.
We did everything in our power to ensure emirs, sheikhs, religious leaders in Christendom, and everyone was taken through the entire process.
I believe a lot of those contentious issues have been addressed and a sort of middle road found to ensure that this bill can indeed be embraced by everyone.
The needed media support for the passage of the Gender and Equality Opportunities Bill is assured because of the benefits derivable from it.
I'm convinced that women are better managers. That's the proof.
The GEO bill seeks to prevent all forms of discrimination against women. It also promotes equal opportunities, development and advancement for all Nigerian citizens, regardless of gender.
The bill, if passed, seeks to be tried in a period of 15 years. In Abuja, John Yaku, NTA News.
News at 10 is coming to you live on NTA News 24. More reports ahead. Do stay with us.
This is NTA News 24 broadcasting from Abuja. You can watch us anywhere, anytime on the following platforms.
Start Times, Channel 101, Greek TV, Channel 743, GSTV, Channel 419, and Go TV, Channel 456.
For more information, log on to our website, www.nta.ng, or join us on our social media handles, Facebook at NTA News 24.
For comments, suggestions and inquiries, send an email to news24@nta.gov.ng or call us on the following numbers.
NTA News 24.
News and more news.
15th OPEC World Oil Outlook says global oil demand is forecast to reach 108.2 million barrels per day by 2045 from a low of 90.6 million barrels per day witnessed in 2020. OPEC Secretary General Mohammed Sanusi Barkindo says the year 2020 saw the largest ever global drop in energy and oil demand.
What is clear is that the world will need more energy in the decades to come. In the period to 2045, the global economy is estimated to more than double. World population is set to expand to 9.5 billion people. And we need to remember that there is huge potential for socio-economic development in terms of expanding access to modern energy services for those billions who continue to go without. We see global energy demand expanding by 28% by 2045. Energy will be needed to power more homes, more services, more businesses, more cars, more planes, more ships. I could go on and on and on. This will require the use of all forms of energy to support the post-pandemic recovery, the energy transition, and address long-term energy needs. We need to draw on the strength of all energy forms. From a regional perspective, we see a continuing energy demand growth trend toward the non-OECD, with its share expected to rise from 63% to 71% by 2045. In fact, the entire growth in energy demand is expected to come from the non-OECD. Renewables witnessed the largest growth, rising from a global fuel share of around 2% in 2020 to over 10% by 2045. It is important to note that OPEC member countries are making significant investment in renewables as they look to diversify their energy mix. Gas sees the second largest growth, driven in part by higher urbanization rates, industrial demand, and its competitiveness over coal in power generation. In fact, all energies are set to witness growth with the exception of coal. It is oil, however, that retains its number one position in the global energy mix. It is still expected to provide 28% of global energy needs by 2045. Given the huge 9.3 million barrels a day drop in global oil demand in 2020, incremental demand by 2026 is almost 14 million barrels a day higher than in 2020, albeit only 4.4 million barrels a day higher than in 2019. Long-term oil demand growth slows over the outlook period, and total demand reaches just over 108 million barrels a day by 2045. Following the energy trend, it is the non-OECD that dominates oil demand growth, led by India, China, other Asian countries, OPEC, and Africa. The OECD sees a steady decline from around the mid-20s onwards. By sector, transportation leads the way, followed by aviation and petrochemicals, while electricity generation is the only area expected to see an oil demand decline. While travel and mobility restrictions due to the pandemic hit the transportation sector hard, particularly aviation, the long-term picture remains one of the robust growth. There remains huge potential for an expansion in the passenger and commercial vehicle fleets, especially in developing regions.
Vehicle owners willing to convert from petrol to gas can now do so through an AutoGas app launched by the National Automotive Design and Development Council. Director General and Chief Executive Officer of NADDC, Jelani Aliu, unveiled the app at a gas-powered vehicles awareness campaign in Abuja, and the campaign is in collaboration with the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment.
These vehicles are manufactured and assembled in Nigeria, powered by AutoGas, with these Nigerians joining the League of Nations that make use of AutoGas-powered vehicles to add value in the domestic gas market while promoting direct investment in the manufacture of gas-powered vehicles. The unveiling of this AutoGas app to share information on certified conversion centers by the National Automotive Design and Development Council.
The Council has trained so far over 20,000 technicians in the industry. The Council has also concluded plans to develop the NOS, the National Occupational Standards, for the conversion of fuel-powered cars from petrol to gas.
The use of AutoGas is one of the sure ways of reducing the emission from petrol to diesel.
Also taking the necessary steps to ensure the use of liquefied gas to change the narrative, the NADDC, in collaboration with the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, is leading an awareness campaign on the economic and environmental benefits of converting fleets to AutoGas.
A combination of rebates and incentives shall be adopted to encourage the use of AutoGas among commercial vehicles and private vehicle owners.
For the National Automotive Design and Development Council, Nigeria is on its way to transiting the use of petrol and diesel to the use of natural gas to power its vehicles, as well as the development of more Nigerian manufactured vehicles, with the significant progress made in the country's automotive industry. In Abuja.
And Central Bank of Nigeria says credit to private sector went up by 498.6 billion naira in August to 33.26 trillion naira from 32 to 0.8 trillion naira reported in July 2021. Details with Alika Panache, Arwa on Business News.
The 33.36 trillion naira figure announced by the CBN is a new record that was fueled by banks, among others, increased lending to real sector. CBN, in its money and credit statistics for the period, revealed that credit to private sector in January was 30.65 trillion naira and dropped by 0.47% to 30.5 trillion naira in February. However, in March, it closed at 31.44 trillion naira and crossed the 32.1 trillion naira mark in April to 32.12 trillion naira. In addition, the CBN reported 32.63 trillion naira and 33.36 trillion naira credit to private sector in May and June. Meanwhile, Nigeria is set to boost its volume of trade with Russia, which was $600 million before the pandemic. With faster recovery in sight, the Nigerian-Russia Chamber of Commerce is strategizing on expanding trade engagement through technological advancement in industry, agriculture, and manufacturing.
We created big companies that are producing high-quality products on the world level, from high-tech to fertilizer.
Nigeria can actually be a big window of Russia into Africa. We are prepared to play that role. We've gotten all the necessary assurances from the government in the person of the Vice President of Nigeria.
With business news, Alika Opanachi, Arua.
In line with the federal government's resolve to find enduring and workable solutions to challenges recorded in the administration of the Integrated Personnel and Payroll Information System, IPPIS, a 3-day capacity building workshop for critical stakeholders, is underway in Minna, the Niger State capital. Hussaina Musa reports that the initiative is also aimed at consolidating on the feats achieved in minimizing wastage and the payment of remuneration for the nation's workforce.
Integrated Personnel and Payroll Information System, IPPIS, was introduced 15 years ago by the federal government to, among other things, ensure centralized payment of workers' remuneration to entrench transparency and accountability in the management of the payroll system. The policy, since inception, has recorded modest achievements in the efficient management of personnel records, timely and accurate payment of salaries and wages, as well as deduction of taxes and other third-party dues. The workshop is organized as part of efforts to further keep key players in tune with the operations of the policy and ensure the effective discharge of their responsibilities in decentralized platform.
This system tries, to really manage human resource in a way that leakages, are blocked, and then of course that would now enable you to enhance, your financial, revenues.
Nationwide training that has been ongoing in deepening the impact of IPPIS within MDAs under the platform. We've done the training in the 6 geopolitical zones.
It will equip us to work in order to lessen the burden placed on the parent body, IPPIS.
The 3-day workshop, which also seeks to ensure seamless implementation of the policy at all federal government ministries, departments, and parastatals, is at the instance of the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. In Minna, Hussaina Musa, NTA News.
The Joint Health Sector Unions and Assembly of Health Professional Association have urged the federal government to reflect the promises of President Muhammadu Buhari in the activities relating to the union's demand to ensure continuous industrial harmony in the health sector. A statement by the JOHESU president, Joy Josiah, stated that due to the appeal from the president on the need to show understanding with his administration and his pledge to pay any dead-old health workers, the strike was shelved, but since then, so implementation has taken place. The union wants the federal government to resolve impending issues contained in the last agreement to avoid the shutting down of hospitals and other health care facilities across the country as the fresh 15 days ultimatum draws near. Still on health, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control has confirmed 295 new cases of COVID-19 in the country. The latest figures released bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 205,042 infections in the country. A breakdown of the new cases indicates that FCT recorded the highest number for the day with 81 new infections. Gombe State recorded 43, Osun 32, Kaduna 25, Rivers 20, Delta 17, Edo 14, Ogun 11, Oyo and Plateau with 9 cases each, Akwa Ibom and Bayelsa with 7 cases. Zamfara 6, Kano 4 cases, Ondo 3 cases, Abia and Nasarawa 2 cases each, while Benue, Ekiti and Niger State recorded a single case each. With this latest development, Nigeria now has 205,047 confirmed cases of COVID-19, out of which 193,260 were treated and discharged, and the death toll is 2,695. We now take a break. More reports in a moment. Don't go away.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Visual Impressions on NTA. I am